Monday, December 1st, 2025. Could we start with a roll call, please?
Hollenbaum.
Here.
O'Flaherty. Here. Heaney Graham. Here. Wright. Here. McMahon. Chair Maxwell.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you so much. The approval of the agenda, if there are any additions or deletions. If not, I will ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by O'Flaherty. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Wright. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. This is the public participation portion. However, this is usually for anything that is not on the agenda. I know a lot of you have submitted questions and would like to speak. However, I'm going to ask, if you would, to wait until the presentations are over, because I think that might answer a lot of the things that you guys are curious about. Approval of minutes, sorry. We need to move to the approval of the minutes from November 17th, 2025.
So moved.
Moved by Pena Graham. Seconded?
Second.
Seconded by Follebaum. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Again, this is the public participation portion, but again, what I would ask is if you are willing to wait until the presentations are over, I think this will answer a lot of the questions that you may have up front. And as we're going through these, I will ask also, just for the sake of everybody's time, if your questions have been answered, please check that off your list before you come to the podium. First order of new business, public hearing, a petition by JJK 345 LLC, Chicago Midwest Business Center, for an approval of the annexation, rezoning, development plan, building elevations, and final plat of subdivision for approximately 560 acres of property generally located along the east and west sides of State Route 23, north of Kesslinger Road and west of Kriego Road. Proposed is a multi-phase data center development known as Edgewood Project Vector. A total of 4 data center campus buildings are proposed, and 2 electrical substations. I understand we have presentations. If you could just state your name for the record.
My name's Jerry Krasinski. I am here on behalf of Chicago West Business Center, located at 2107 Swift Drive, Oak Brook, Illinois.
Could I have it noted for the
First
record that
slide,
Mr.
please, Jerry.
McMahon
You
just
can go ahead
arrived?
and do the remote. First slide, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Let me just get adjusted here so that you can hear me. I am here in front of the commission this evening asking for your approval and your support, obviously, for the annexation, rezoning, and the final site plan approval for what we refer to as Region 2 and Region 3 expansion of the Chicago West Business Center. You can see the aerial there, obviously, the area south of our Phase 1. Bear with me a second, it doesn't. There we go. On the south portion of the meta development for this proposed project. What I'd like to do in the presentation here in a short while is give a little more detail about the project background, what we're proposing, and of course, introduce you to the proposed operator for this development. But before I do that, if you don't mind, I'd like to just step back a little bit and give you some history and background of the Chicago West development. There we go. So what I want to share with this audience is back in 2005, the city of DeKalb's issued an updated comprehensive plan, and that was really to encourage industrial development, basically south of 88. You can see it right here on the comp plan map back then. And as you are aware, you can see that this was all rural agricultural area in the past. I must note that after about 10 years after that comp plan was issued, there was really no activity of development here. We responded to many, many RFPs, but unfortunately, there was really very little activity, and so the county and the city and other officials, leaders in the community here decided to apply for an enterprise zone designation, which offered tax incentives. And I just also wanted to make note of this here image, if you don't mind, that I'll refer to it here a little later in the presentation. But with that, you know, it took 15 years, and finally we were successful. We were successful to bring Ferrara and Meta, at that time it was referred to as Facebook, that we all know, to the community here. It was a major, major win, and it really changed the direction of DeKalb, in my opinion. We brought tax dollars, we brought obviously both construction jobs and permanent employment to the area, and it was a major impact for the area. Shortly after that, in 2022, the city of DeKalb issued an updated comprehensive plan, and really, I think, to leverage that success and clearly identified as a major goal to aggressively pursue more industrial and potentially data center to the area here. So that was something that was well underway and really to try to reinforce the success that occurred here. At the same time, we began assembling additional land for future development, and we were fortunate to get the same support from the state of Illinois, recognizing that DeKalb had changed, and it had changed significantly for a many positive situation here. And so the state of Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity also issued a grant for encouraging development, namely in Region 2 and in our Region 3. So we also requested the county to expand our enterprise zone in this area to, again, pursue opportunities. And with that, in March of 2023, we received unanimous support from the local enterprise zone board to expand the enterprise zone, as well as Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity then granted their certification in May of '24. So lots of wheels were in motion, and in addition to some of the incentives from government authorities, the community was really working together to look at regional expansion, and that included the important infrastructure, not only for what was proposed for Chicago West Business Center, but what was necessary for the area. And one of those major components was the partnership with Commonwealth Edison. The city of DeKalb, the county, worked very carefully to bring additional resources, power resources to the area here. And as you're aware, that the Kishwaukee Area Reliability Expansion Project, which was all publicly presented, was well underway. And it just goes to show that this the community was really pushing forward with this here development. Not only power, but we have been working with the sanitary district, the water department, and others really to expand regional infrastructure for the area. Lo and behold, and I will say here, in what I'll refer to as 6 very short years, a lot of success occurred. And it was really because of the partnerships of government agency, the community, the support from NIU, Kishwaukee College, et cetera, really to deliver several million square feet of very high-end buildings that we're proud of, we're very proud of, and that's why we're here today, to make certain that the development continues on at that same high standard. And so I am grateful to all of the participants that helped move this here forward. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Ferrara, Meta, Kraft Heinz, and Amazon, those clients that had gave us the confidence to come here and build and be part of the community here going forward. So a little bit about the past. Now let's talk about the future, and I think that's really what everyone is here for tonight. And with that, I'm very honored to say that we have a very successful partnership that we are working with Edge Data Center. They are part of the Endeavor Group that would like to build 4 buildings here south of the area in our region 2 and 3. And this here image really, it serves a couple of purposes. Number one, it demonstrates that this will very much follow suit with what has been built on the Meta campus in many ways. The reality of it is these data centers are very high-valued facilities, and the layout is very similar to Meta. But what we come before you this evening, and that is, and we referred to this as Project Vector, but what we come before you this evening is to let you know that we want this done responsibly, sustainably, and really to let it fit in with the harmony of the area. Meta has built a high-quality facility, and rest assured, Edge and Endeavor would certainly want to do the same here with this development. Now, the development in total will be 4 buildings. In summary, it's about just under 3 million square feet across 560 acres. There will be 2 substations that serve these buildings here, and they will be built in 4 phases, 1 building at a time, obviously. Those buildings, we're projecting a timeline of 6 to 8 years for ultimate construction, but that may vary depending on market conditions, Commonwealth Edison, and other sources. As you can see, we are very committed to nice-looking facilities, architecturally designed, certainly with a significant amount of screening and other things that would go forward with this here project. And they as well want to create a good working environment to attract high-quality workforce and employees. And these are high-paying jobs to one extent, and there will be a lot of service providers that are necessary for these types of buildings. I can tell you that, and we have a couple of guests in the office, both James and Elda flew in this evening because they want to be part of this community. We've been working with this group for about 6 months now. The CEO has been in town on multiple occasions. We've had multiple meetings here. These here are a group that are very, very sensitive to sustainability. They are setting some new technology standards as it relates to these types of facilities. But you can see from their shared values, we really felt as though they were the right fit for this project. And we're very excited. We're very excited to make this introduction here. We're not hiding behind a project code name. They want you to know that they want to be part of the community as well. Now, there's been many concerns with data centers. And I think to some degree, there's been some misperception, and we want to make certain that we're very clear about this project going forward. There, needless to say, have been some of those data centers that have consumed large quantities of water. This design here will be a waterless design. They will basically have a closed loop system with their air handling units that will bring both air and water directly to the data halls, and that's how they create great efficiencies. But most important, it will not draw from the city water other than domestic use and the initial, fill of these air systems. So really great to hear the advancement in this here industry going forward. Emergency generators, temporary power, those types of things are also another very large concern with the data center industry. And again, because of their leadership in the industry here, they are advancing new technology called TurboCell, is their brand name, if you will. But these here are natural gas TurboCell powered electrical sources, and they are a very low emission device. They are unlike the traditional diesel backup generators that are noisy. They, they make a lot of exhaust, things of that nature. So this here is the newest technology, and they will be obligated to meet all of the current standards from both noise as well as emission standards here locally and with the Illinois EPA. It's really some phenomenal technology. I've seen this firsthand, and can't tell you how impressed these systems are going forward. We're concerned about the environment, the harmony of the environment. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of similarities to the Meta campus, but what we're doing here is we are increasing the screen walls, the setback, the equipment screens, those things. So from a line of sight, this operation from any public roadway will really be screened much more aggressively or adjacent to residential areas. And we actually completed, I believe it's 8 different line of sight sections really in those critical areas because we want to be good neighbors. These are large, very complex facilities with lots of equipment, but we want to be good neighbors as it relates to that. And so these here studies have been included in our packet as well. Now, it goes beyond just pretty pictures. We have taken a very thorough look at this development and everything from traffic studies to noise and emission studies. We've done photometrics of the exterior lighting and how we can utilize dark sky light fixtures as an example so that we really do not impact the area in a negative way. We've done landscape plans, and we want to really focus those priorities in all good design practices so that we can accomplish, the best harmony with the look and the operation of this here facility. And we also know that there's been a lot of negative perception as it relates to power costs, and your electric bill is going to go up because of this, and I want to make this very, very clear. This facility here will not impact the city of DeKalb's utility power cost. what does do that is more of a national impact on what's happening with the industry, with transmission and power generations. And so what these data centers do now with these large transmission applications is there's a much greater commitment in terms of upfront contributions from these, the client here, to pay for deposits, pay for engineering, pay for infrastructure upgrades, so that that the community is the ultimate benefit. And in fact, now what the technology allows is that at certain times, they can even utilize these facilities to take some of the load off of the grid. So they are bringing improvements to the area from a regional power standpoint. So I just want to wrap things up here. Lots of benefits. Certainly there will be some immediate benefits with, good paying union construction jobs for many years. And we've been a very, very strong partner with the local trade groups. It also will support local businesses that will participate and suppliers in this here project. And there's a residual impact during construction, obviously, to the local restaurants, gas stations, things of that nature. But on a permanent basis, when these facilities are up in operation, it brings really a significant benefit from a real estate tax contribution to all of the taxing bodies. It will also again, bring high-paying jobs. This first facility, Edge's anticipating about 100 full-time employees to operate a facility of this complexity. Just several other things with that. So I'll conclude with, again, asking for your support and definitely let you know that we are here. We want to be a continued good partner with the city of DeKalb.
Thank you, Mr. Krasinski. And was there a second portion of the presentation?
No, I got to give it to Dan.
Yes,
Staff
Chairman, there's a staff report in your packets. Mr. Krasinski went through a very thorough background, so I won't repeat a lot of the information. But again, this is a proposed annexation, approval of the rezoning to planned development industrial, approval of a development plan, building elevations, and a final plat for the subject site. The site, of course, is contiguous to the city. You can see the outline of the aerial here, showing the city limits in the black line, but the red shows the proposed annexation area of the property. And you did see the plans there showing the 4 buildings and the 2 electrical substations that are part of the project. It was noted the building 1, the square footage in your packet, about 980 square feet. Building 2, 550,000 square feet. And building 3 comparable to building 1, and building 4 about 490,000 square feet. And estimated completion, building 1, fourth quarter of 2027, and building 4 looking at 2032. So it's kind of phased out over the development. Mr. Krasinski went over the background of the company regarding utilities, electrical power, the water usage, et cetera. Some of the planning items is briefly noted in the staff report. There'd be PDI zoning similar to Meta and Ferrera, Kraft Heinz, that whole southeast area of the city. No waivers or variances were requested from the UDO. We did get a letter from the Illinois Department of Agriculture when they looked at the enterprise zone expansion for these 2 regions. They indicated, and the letter was attached to you in the background materials and copied for you, a letter from April 2024 that the department considered the enterprise zone expansion consistent with the Department of Commerce Economic Opportunities agricultural land preservation policy and the Illinois Farmland Preservation Act. So they were good with that. And again, the county's comp plan, DeKalb County encourages development annexed into cities, contiguous to cities, not leapfrogged and out in the middle of the farmland. So roadways will be privately owned within. They all connect to the public roadways, Krieger Road, Kesslinger, and Route 23. There'll be private ring roads around the buildings with adequate for fire, police access, and also there'll be fire hydrants around those, of course, meeting the city code regarding that. Detention areas are shown there on the plan. In blue, they'll meet or exceed the city's stormwater ordinance. Height of the buildings were noted. There's a 75-foot max, but these buildings are going to be in that 25 to 40-foot high. As Mr. Krasinski showed some of the visuals on that, the parking lot lighting will shine downward, shoebox, and not shine horizontally on adjacent properties. And several supplemental plans were provided to the commission for background. Looking at for rezoning, the commission looks at the findings of fact. Now let's go through those. The first one looks at the comprehensive plan, of course, 2022. Comp plan we approved. The map showed this is the current city boundary and black dashed line. The purple is industrial use. So this whole area here, seeing purple, is the subject site. So all of it was shown as industrial. There was also statements in the comp plan for industrial development regarding encouraging more data centers. That was a specific item in the comp plan for that industrial development. Also, it encouraged expansion of the industrial area in the southeast part of the city. That was encouraged in the comp plan for this area. And also mentioned the 2005 comp plan did have some commercial uses in this area. So for a long time, this has been designated for commercial industrial type uses. So they meet the standard number 1, and also note the letter from the state of Illinois Department of Agriculture supporting it. The rezoning complies with the UDO. They're meeting all the standards, and the PDI gives the city and owner flexibility on the project. We get to review the building elevations. They get some flexibility on the phasing of development. We take a look at any effects on adjacent properties. We determined they won't have any negative impacts on adjacent properties. They're showing noise studies, emission studies. They're laying out the detention ponds. They're proposing berms that will screen some of the data center buildings. There's a large-scale, obviously, Meta right next door, and up on Girdler Road, several manufacturing, warehouse distribution facilities. So this will be right adjacent to the zoning is compatible with the surrounding area. And the extension of utilities and upgrading of the roadways will increase the value of the adjacent farm parcels and other adjacent lots in this area. With the expansion of the utilities should raise the values of adjacent properties. So we don't see any negative impacts from this development. A lot of positive ones, particularly economic. Also looking at public facilities services, went through regarding the water usage and electrical by the applicant. And this project has adopted the best practices with respect to powering and cooling of high-speed processing equipment, and continual operation, environmental emissions, noise, and energy sources. So we believe they meet all the 5 findings of fact for a rezoning. Public input, we did get letters, strong support from these following organizations and taxing districts, and they were copied in their background materials. We made copies tonight on your desk. DeKalb County Economic Development Corporation, DeKalb Chamber of Commerce, DeKalb Park District, DeKalb Public Library, Kishwaukee College, Kishwaukee Water Reclamation District, DeKalb School District 428, and earlier today we received a letter of support from NIU. So all those have provided strong support for this project for many reasons, particularly economic. Letters from the public. I know we have a lot of speakers tonight. We did get an email from Shirley Balika, B-L-L-I-K-A. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Lives on Girdler Road. Had some questions, concerns regarding the project, which I think were answered, and that copy of that letter is provided to you. But I don't know if she's here going to speak, but I think all the questions were answered for her. You got a copy of that. So in conclusion, we recommend approval of this major project regarding investment, jobs, construction, new tax revenue for the site. There's a sample motion prepared that again approves upon annexation rezoning to PDI, approves the 4 data center buildings, 2 electrical substations per the development plans, which include the plan here. That's the development plan, the building elevations, which were shown too. They're in the final plat of subdivision, which creates basically lots for each individual building. And then the standards on Exhibit B, the first paragraph talks about construction of additional buildings improvements. So in the future, as buildings come on, they'll have to submit detailed engineering plans for each lot, each building, and building plans for those. They'll be reviewed by the city manager, see if they're compatible or comply with the approved development plan that you're looking at tonight in terms of layout of the building and access, et cetera. If they do, they'll have to meet the requirements, get a permit. There's no additional review by the commission needed unless they make some major change to it or amend one of the development standards, and they'd have to come back for a new hearing. But as long as they're in compliance with the plan and the standards, they'll be allowed to proceed. And again, this is phased over for many years. So in the standards there, you see the setbacks for buildings and parking. Those are very comparable or even more than what was approved for Meta and Ferrera, Kraft Heinz. They're very comparable setbacks compared to this project too. So, and then there's the maximum building height, landscaping per the UDO, lighting per the Unified Development Ordinance, parking be looked at with the city and the owner to, what works the best, and this is at a big parking generator anyway. Fences, signs per the UDO. We also approve in here particularly the this area here up off of Gurler Road. It's a detention area on the far north end of the Phase 4. That area is strictly no structures allowed in that, only detention and conservation purposes only. So that's a very specific exhibit shown in there. And with that, City Manager Nicholas wanted to go over a few items, particularly the incentives on the
Thank you, Dan.
project.
Thank you. There are a lot of people waiting to speak, so I'll be very brief. 2 quick things. In the lead up to a lot of this print material you have and very good presentations you've heard from Mr. Guzinski and from Dan, there were a lot of conversations. This didn't just start a couple weeks ago, it started months ago. And I can say along the way, one of the things that impressed the city was, first of all, that Mr. Krasinski's property and the ethic of his company was involved. As you can see, there are lots of examples where he has been able to cite companies not only willing to make a substantial investment, but also to build very large buildings on land that in other places in our northern Illinois region would look pretty cramped and so forth. There are very deep setbacks. There's lots of amenities and landscaping and more than adequate stormwater retention and detention and so forth. Plus, the smaller amenities that you see, the signage and so forth, all has to pass muster. That's encouraging, and getting things done on time and in a collaborative way has always been good for us. But let me just speak to the company. We have traveled so that we could see behind the pictures that we were starting to get even early on. Obviously, you can go on the internet, and I hope some of the people in the audience tonight have, to look up Edged or to look up Endeavor and to see what they do and what they say about themselves. So the mayor and I traveled out of state, and we traveled in state and other places to see just what they do and also what they build in the way of machines to help them do what they intend to do. And I have to say that we're most impressed. I'm not an engineer. I am interested in seeing that the companies that want to invest in our community, whether they're small or large, whether they're downtown businesses or large industrial corporations, are looking to be up with the times, so to speak. And the times are changing in exponential fashion in the area of IT and tech, and also the storage of the data, which, as we're here, sitting here tonight, people who have their phones and who have other devices are creating more storage needs just by the second. So what happens? Well, we're not going to do away with data centers, so don't we as a community want to set some standards and set them high and see that the companies that we collaborate with are going to meet those standards or exceed those standards? And I think we have found that in EDGE. I don't think, I know it. The mayor and I have seen and touched and talked and walked, and others, there are two people here tonight from the company who are happy to answer questions of the commission later on. One last thing on impact. There will be more on this at the city council meeting, which is where this is more of a central topic. We don't know what the final numbers will be. We do have some pretty good numbers on where we are now that Meta has all of its buildings up and operating, and in a short 5 years. The announcement was in June of 2020, and here we are at the end of 2025. What I can tell you is, based on numbers from DeKalb County, from the Supervisor of Assessments, including this year's assessed valuations, the actual investment from Meta to date is $2.5 billion. That's in market value. A third of that is $835 million in EAV. That EAV through 24, we don't have the 24 numbers yet. Tax levies are still being registered with the county, and taxing bodies are still having some final discussion on those, and we'll know better in the spring where we are with the application of these various levies that turn into rates. But what Meta has churned up in 2022, 2023, and 2024 for local taxing bodies is over $46 million. $46 million. The square footage of Meta is 2.5 million. The projected square footage here is 2.9 plus. So I suspect we are going to see a very big impact in terms of economic impact. And also, and this is not something most people think about. I think about it because this goes right into the city's operating fund, and it helps pay for street improvements and snow removal and all the rest of that. And that's utility tax. So the electrical utility tax is also not known. But projecting what we can of where we've been with Meta, before Meta came, our utility tax was rising about 4 to 5% a year, better than flat, not churning out a remarkable amount of money, new money on the electrical side. And we, at this point, are not sure how much electrical power is going to be used from ComEd. But we do know that many times the average bump of 4 to 5% will be realized. My estimate at this point is upon energizing, and that might be 2 to 3 years out, we will see a bump of about $300,000 or $400,000 on the electrical utility tax per year.
Wow.
So that's what I have to report for now, and I'll stop and let the public be heard.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Again, with respect to people that would like to speak, if your questions have been answered already, please just check it off your list. I'll call them out in as much as I can tell the order that I received them. Just to remind everybody, though, this is not a question and answer. This is simply, you can come to the podium and state your questions, and we'll try to do our best to kind of collectively, if there's anything that reappears several times, we'll see if we can address those at the end. The first person I may have is William Heinzen. Heinisch, sorry.
Good evening. Will Heinisch is my name. I've been in front of many boards and commissions over the last 25 years, as many people recognize me. I'm here tonight I own property adjacent, residential property to this proposed development in South Point Greens in DeKalb. And for me, this was a concern. However, in looking at the 160-plus pages and through all the diagrams and doing the background information and research, I'm supporting this project based on multiple prongs. One, this is a development that I want to have next to the property I own in South Point Greens. I believe it's got a very low impact for our residential community and for the future in comparison what potentially could be built there. If we go back and look, even 25 years ago, I was part of the Focus DeKalb, where 25 years ago we were seen as business unfriendly in DeKalb. We have worked hard, a lot of business leaders and people in this community have worked hard to change that, and these are the fruits of that labor of 25 years ago, 20 years ago, and a lot of hard work from the developments that we have brought forth coming. You know, change is inevitable, and if we fail to change, eventually we're going to fail. And even over the years, as I look back, from the start of barbed wire to DeKalb Ag, to GE, Spalding, Wurlitzer, all those companies are no longer here. This company may no longer be here in 50 to 75 years. But if we don't continue to embrace change and accept a positive impact like this on our community, eventually we will fail. So I'm here to support the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And again, I'm sorry, I can't read the last name, but Russell? Burns? Oh.
My name is Russell Burns. I live at 17889 State Route 23. And if you look at the diagram, basically I live in the middle of the residential area at Gerler and 23. And I've lived there. We bought the property in 1973. And we bought 8 acres and we subdivided it. And my daughter lived in one house and my brother-in-law lived in one house. And anyway, we're the only ones left. But our property goes all the way back to the property owned by Jerry. So our property line, our back property line is contiguous. I don't really like industrial zoning. I don't know if you all remember, but I was city attorney back in the 80s, and I used to go to all the planning commission meetings and zoning meetings. I was assistant city attorney in the 60s under Joe Ebbison, and I did the same thing. And I'd never heard where a finger going up into residential property or surrounded on 3 sides by residential property is good zoning. I used to do subdividing for the Katz family, and I used to fight like hell to get residential subdivisions next to residential subdivisions. But anyway, I've met with Bill Nicholas a couple times, and it's my understanding that it's agreeable with the developer, and it would be agreeable to us that there's 15-acre parcel between our residential and the railroad track. And that's shown on there as a retention area. And if you look on page 13 of 13 on the packet, it talks about a conservation area. And it says that, I'll let you read it, but basically no building, it's going to be a retention or detention, and it's going to be a conservation area. So with that restriction, then we really don't have any real complaint, except we want to make sure that restriction stays on the property. I'm 85 years old, or 84 years old. In 2032, I'll be 92. I probably won't be out there. But it will affect the value of my property. and the quality of life whoever lives there. And right now, it's a good quality of life. But as long as it's going to be with that restriction, whatever goes on there, whether they change it, somebody else comes in, as long as it's this restriction here is on there and it's on there permanently, then we don't have a complaint, and I don't think it will affect the value of our property. But I would like to add, and I'll pass it out, which I just thought about this afternoon after I read this. One clause that I'd like to add to that paragraph.
She handed one back to me. Thank you. Yeah.
Here's an extra.
Yeah. Did you want a copy?
Yeah, I gave Bill one, I don't know if I gave Dan one. But I'd like that provision added, that the provision of this paragraph cannot be amended on any present or future plans, so that there'll always be a retention pond or conservation or something like that back there. There won't be any buildings. And I've got to say, and we weren't here, we never objected with Facebook across the street. And if you've gone by, there's a big berm. But we were told at the time that they would put up a berm and there would be a retention area behind it. And that's what he did. So I got to say, you know, they did what they said they were going to do. So I'm assuming, Jerry, he's here in good faith, and that area will be this, and it'll stay this. And with that condition, you know, it's okay with us.
Okay. Thank you for your perspective, Mr. Burns.
And the staff supports additional language
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
Burns provided.
Paul Meyer?
I'm here to speak on 220 College.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. I just had a stack in front of me. Keith Bisplinghoff. Yeah, you got it right. Yeah, please come forward if you'd like.
I think I've heard all of them.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have a Jake Costanza, sorry.
Hi, Jake Costanza. I'm with Laborers Local 32. I live in Rockford. The organization comprises of over 750 members with more than 200 living in DeKalb and its neighboring communities. We are in favor of this project. In addition to its good jobs, data centers and the companies that invest are investing in local education, workforce development, and sustainability initiatives, and they partner with communities for long-term success. So today I brought 2 laborer apprentices whose careers were actually spurred by the data center. One of them at Meta, hard hats in hand, as well as a local contractor by the name of Elliott and Wood, who was able to add on an apprentice. The way we see it is when union jobs meets community vision, everybody wins. It's not just about the jobs, it's about doing it sustainably and responsibly, and that's why we're in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it. Shirley Belika? Good evening.
I did this, my name's Shirley Belika. I live on Gurler Road. I did submit some questions, but I have further questions about the noise. I don't know if this company has built a facility with this turbo cell already. And I want to know what the noise level is going to be, because I've read about previous data centers that have noise levels that maybe they met the EPA expectation. However, People complain that they could hear the noise 24 hours a day while they're in bed, while they're in their backyard. I want to make sure that that does not happen here. And also that I feel you are putting this in a neighborhood, because we live on Gurler, people at South Point, there's a lot of people that will be negatively affected, even if you say you don't think it is, but it is. And I feel that the part of this development that is on the west side of 23 is a bad location, and it should, there's a lot of farmland on the other side, and can't half of that be over there? I know you guys been working on it, but we just found out about it. But I feel it's will negatively affect all of us on the south side, and our property values will go down. So who's going to buy your house when you have that in your backyard? So maybe you make a bunch of money, but I don't think it's in our best interest, the people that live there.
Okay, thank you, Shirley. I appreciate your perspective. Thanks for participating. Emily McKee?
Hi, I'm Emily McKee. I have a number of real deep concerns about this project in this location in terms of land and water, less water now that I've learned that it's waterless, in terms of land, electricity use in particular, and some local quality of life issues. But I wanted to talk to electricity in particular. It is not a foregone conclusion, despite the waves of AI use, that we necessarily need to invite an energy gobbling facility like this into our community. I have real big concerns about energy use and carbon contributions of a facility like this. We haven't heard how much energy it will actually use, how much electricity it will actually use. But given what we know about other comparable data centers, particularly that it's waterless, so therefore the cooling is going to have to come through electricity of cooling the air, that electricity load is going to be very, very high. I would like some more clarity on that before anything moves forward, but also I would like some clarity on how the costs are going to be distributed of the infrastructure that's being built to meet these needs. We heard a comment from the presenter that this facility wouldn't contribute to any hikes because of infrastructure builds by ComEd, but we have no understanding of why that might be, because we know that other data centers have led to those hikes because new lines need to be brought in, and generally, status quo, without any other agreements, is that that cost gets distributed among all the users. So therefore, residences, small businesses are all subsidizing the use by a large facility like this. So we need, before we approve something like this, I would like to know how that's going to be avoided in this case, if it can be. I would also like some more clarity on the actual use of the turbo cells and how much production is going to come from the use of natural gas versus from ComEd at what different points in time. There was some discussion about by 2028 they would be able to use a technology that would be zero carbon, but it's unproven. We have no demonstrated uses of this elsewhere. So I have a lot of concerns about sacrificing really valuable land, really valuable community space for unproven technology and real costs to our electricity use and carbon emissions.
Okay, thank you for your perspective, Emily. Chuck Shepard?
Chuck Shepard. I've also been before you guys a number of different times. I'm a general contractor of 50-plus years in this market. And although I don't work directly on projects that are south of the tollway, the commercial necessary for our community because of these projects are performed by companies like mine. I've seen over the years the ups and downs of the national economy, which has direct effects on us, sometimes negatively, but the loss of the Barbara Greens, GE, Wurlitzer, Anaconda, DeKalb Ag, these new projects that are going on south of the tollway now are becoming a replacement of those and replacing and helping our tax base. They will shore up all the taxing bodies, and so I would ask you to vote yes this evening. I would also personally like to give a thanks to Jerry Krasinski and his family and construction group to hang in there. 205, they bought into our community, and we were just on a downswing, and they stayed the case, and here we are 2025, 20 years later, and are doing quite well with our tax bases. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Roy Jones?
My name is Roy Jones. I have a prepared statement, but I'll try not to take too long on it. This month, DeKalb Planning and Zoning is again considering a proposal to prepare 560 acres bought over the past few years. City leaders are again touting job creation, this time with an environmentally responsible plan. In an attempt to address overlapping concerns in light considerations of future planning, I want to ask, why is it so easy to allocate and develop land for resource-intensive warehouses, but so hard to conceptualize land use for grid elements, such as publicly owned agrivoltaics? Residents of DeKalb County see investment company power projects blooming on small parcels. But where is the residential benefit when we are pursuing maximal resource usage and electricity demand? As much as we all love the internet, technological innovation, taxable Silicon Valley assets, and money for schools, working on further data center proposals is not in line with best practices in stewardship and land management. How many does the city envision building? How long do we have to be subject to the West Coast new manifest destiny? Without us holding the core value of energy independence, we will never materialize net zero emissions and negative utility bills. Planning and zoning thus far is giving a perpetual lease of our land and resources to out-of-state entities at flat rates for the promise of many jobs. However, when looking at the population of DeKalb and knowing workers in this city commute from across the county, few jobs arrive with data centers. How many jobs do these projects bring? And how do we define new jobs? Are they jobs for actually existing people here or to bring hypothetical people in? We need to move past this warehouse phase of investments, draw a line of how much corporate sponsorship we require, and move on to the opportunities of prioritizing infrastructure investment in renewable, self-sufficient microgrids belonging to the municipalities of Illinois, especially when global investments in renewable power and grids overtook fossil fuels in 2023. And yes, as much as we want to nickname it otherwise, natural gas is still a fossil fuel. Some can see this unimaginable amount of water per diem being supplanted with natural gas as progressive, but how does this affect our emissions balance, our gross methane emissions? Electricity bills are already rising nationally because of data centers. Now will our gas bills be affected? At a time when ex-urban communities, like Yorkville, are both siphoning water from the Great Lake and building 1,000-acre data centers, we are dealing with land use and energy consumption that exacerbates the strain on an already overexploited biome. It is one thing to muse that Vector will be more green than a number of its outmoded predecessors, but how do we substantiate the claim that it is carbon neutral? In light of the resource and electricity intensity of data centers, it is demoralizing there is insufficient public consideration allocated to sustain our ecological sources for energy and water, including an aggressive deployment of sustainable energy, protections for shrinking wetlands networks, and significant commitments for prairie restoration to mitigate existing global warming in DeKalb County. We need to reprioritize now and recognize the duty we have to remediate existing ecological systems by working to ensure real energy equity that doesn't capitulate our environmental security. I'm in attendance today for the DeKalb commissions and representatives to prioritize a deep ecology in all future planning. To the EDGE representatives, I ask, how is the plot of native plants substantial and not just ornamental? How is the plant hydrogen compatible? What is this innovative methane pyrolysis technology? To the commission, the city, the county, and all of us residents, I ask this. What are we doing surrounded by field corn and warehouse jobs? How do we prioritize stewardship, energy equity, food security, while investing in a sustainable city that serves a beautiful life? Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Appreciate your perspective. Melissa Amito?
Hi, I'm Melissa Medio. Happy to be up here in support of Project Vector. I'm the Executive Director of DeKalb County Economic Development Corporation. A lot of what I'm going to speak about has already been covered. However, I just want to reiterate the impact that this will have on from a major revenue standpoint with taxes. I think even just looking at what the growth in the Chicago West Business Center has brought to date is massive. And then also, you know, when we think about what data centers in Illinois alone since 2023 have brought, there was a recent article in the Crain's Chicago Business dated November 15th that in 2023, data centers generated $1.9 billion in state and local taxes in Illinois. Project Vector will generate millions of dollars that will directly support our schools, transportation networks, public safety, and increased quality of life initiatives. These are tangible, they're measurable, and they do benefit the DeKalb residents. From a jobs and workforce development standpoint, yes, it will bring hundreds of construction and skilled trade jobs during a multi-year phase, along with, as what was touched on, high-quality, high-paying permanent positions in technology and operations once the data centers are up and running. The construction and these skilled jobs also, it is a multi-year project, will bring business into and jobs then, you know, as they're here spending money, right? So we're going to bring in these construction people, these skilled laborers. They're going to be in our communities spending dollars, and those will also need to create jobs. From a sustainable modern technology standpoint, I think the fact that they're using waterless, cool-looped cooling technology, which will be protecting our local water resources, is important. I also want to emphasize that their employment of innovative turbocell power technology will maximize efficiency and reduce energy waste, which has a positive effect on where the costs and more energy comes from, and then supports the expansion of clean energy in general. From a responsible land use and approvals perspective, the site was added to the DeKalb County Enterprise Zone with full approval from the Illinois Department of Agriculture for industrial use. I think we talked a lot tonight about how the community economic development plans also long-term have talked about this being a perfect case for what can happen with this land. When we think about long-term growth, we need to continue to think about that. A lot of those conversations happen. They didn't just happen in the past year, in the past 5 years. A lot of these discussions have happened for a few decades. In summary, Project Vector is a forward-looking, responsible development. It delivers economic growth, community investment, sustainable technology, and long-term creation. It positions DeKalb and DeKalb County as leaders in the digital economy while providing real benefits that improve daily life for all residents. DCEDC strongly encourages advancing this project and recognizes its potential to contribute meaningful to DeKalb County's continued economic vitality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Karen Larson?
Good evening. I'm Karen Larson. I moved here about 2.5 years ago. This is the first time I've ever been to a council meeting, but this is a really important event for the community as a whole and as the county as a whole as well. And personally, I don't think I have any information that I really need to have to answer some of my questions. It's certainly not going to be answered in this short meeting. And I look at the volume of people that are here, it seems to be a very hot topic, and people need a lot more information to feel comfortable with the decision that's about to be made. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lance McGill?
Good evening, Commission. Name's Lance McGill, resident of South Point Greens. For the last 10 years, I've been a business agent with Local 150. For 8 years prior to that, I was in the organizing department, and for the last 3 years, I've been president of the DeKalb County Building and Construction Trades Council. So I'm going to speak a little bit on behalf of this project and what it's meant to our members. Similar project Meta at one time had 1,500 tradesmen working every day on the project. That doesn't include engineers, safety, everyone, actual tradesmen going to work. Payroll on that was roughly, with benefits, $5 million a week. This is life-changing. People were out there for 5 years. We've got 30-year-old members that have houses paid for, thanks to data centers. Again, members under 30 making over $200,000 a year, thanks to data centers. So to say these don't change lives is without question a falsehood. Along with that, as a resident of South Point, I'm in all the taxing bodies that are primarily affected by this project. And since 2021 to 2024 taxing year, my taxes have gone down 18%. So you can see it put in dollar value. There is impact to the community everywhere. And on that behalf, the DeKalb County Building Trades Council would recommend you approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McGill. We have a Michelle McGill.
Good evening. My name is Michelle McGill, and I have been a lifelong resident of the city of DeKalb and currently live on Pebble Beach Court in South Point Greens. You can see on that screen over there or over here, our house is actually between the two ponds. I don't know, like on the, there you go. My neighborhood is located across the train tracks, as you can see from Project Vector. When people come to my neighborhood to visit my home for the first time, the words I typically hear are, "Wow, I didn't know this neighborhood existed. It's so quiet and peaceful, and you have a gorgeous view." After living here for 12 years, I truly believe it's a gem of DeKalb. A little country living while still in the city, and I'm just here tonight as a concerned resident. If or when Project Vector passes, the whole area is going to change. After years of loud construction vehicles moving around and kicking up dust less than 2 football field lengths from my home, the peace and tranquility of my neighborhood will be long gone. And in its place will be an industrial epicenter, which includes 2 data center buildings on the west side of 23 and a substation, as you know, which I will easily be able to see walking out my front door and from the front windows of my home. The City of DeKalb Planning and Zoning page on the city website states that its obligation is to protect and maintain property values by ensuring incompatible uses are to be kept apart. For example, it is desirable to separate residential neighborhoods from industrial developments. If that's true, then how is this area of land being zoned as industrial? It may be a wish that this neighborhood was not developed as residential 20 years ago, but here we are. One of my many concerns with this industrial project is the property value of my home. This changes my view completely. How am I supposed to be able to sell my property when I'm able to see a data center or other industrial warehouses from my front porch? I am very concerned for my children and neighbors' health and well-being during and after the development. A data center will create nonstop noise 24 hours a day, 365 days per year. And if you haven't stood outside of Meta's data center buildings and heard the constant noise that they make, I encourage you to do that. For residents of the neighborhood, it will be difficult to filter out the noise that will cause anxiety, stress, and sleep disruption, as well as other potential health risks that are not even known. There are many more concerns I have about the data center, but as one of the residents living the closest to this proposed data center, I feel as though I must ask you, will there be a guarantee that the residents in the surrounding area's voices be heard? Will there be a guarantee to build berms high enough for me not to be able to see or hear these buildings and substation from my house? With the present mapping, I do not see this as a priority. I see berms being placed along Route 23 with minimal thought to residents. Because there's a detention pond right there, I don't see any berms blocking my view. Is it possible to add microforests to improve air quality and reduce the urban heat island effect? And you've already answered this question about lighting, so I appreciate the dark sky lights because we can see constellations and northern lights from our neighborhood. These questions and many more have weighed very heavily on me since this project was publicly announced. And I understand it's been talked about for a while. But as a resident of DeKalb, I ask you, is the proposed data center the right choice? And if you live where I live, would you vote to rezone the property, Region 2, across the tracks from your home as industrial? Thank you.
Thank you for your perspective, Michelle. Ben Roders? Roder?
Hi, I'm Ben Roders, and I'm over on South First Street. I am completely against this whole data center project vector. Couple big things. Yeah, it's waterless, but what do they use inside of the water? Sorry. So data centers release a particular matter of nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, and carbon dioxide, generators risk exposure. Hold on, I'm all over the place here. I just have one question. The liquid cooling systems, do they use ethylene glycol? Any? No? Not looking? All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Again, just to be clear, we're not doing the Q&A now.
The,
All right,
the
cool.
speaker can ask a question directly to the petitioner.
Oh,
And the
okay.
petitioner can get up and respond
Okay.
to the mic. Got the cue.
We use propylene glycol.
You
Up
do
to the
use
mic,
propylene
please.
glycol?
Yeah, could you approach the mic, please?
Up to the microphone. Yeah, you need to. Yeah, they can ask. They can ask.
We use food quality propylene glycol in the closed loop system.
Okay, thank you.
According to the EPA, ethylene glycol may be discharged from the wastewater in its production and use. Chronic effects, non-cancerous, were studied in individuals resulted in respiratory infections, upper respiratory tract irritation, throat issues, and when tested upon rats and guinea pigs, the pulmonary inflammation and reproductive development issues. Several studies of rodents exposed orally or inhalation showed ethylene glycol to affect animal fetuses. Fetotoxicity manifests as increased implementation loss, delayed ossification, and increased evidence of fetal malformations. Wildlife too. I don't know if anybody's been down there, or if you live there, you probably noticed the bald eagles that live there. And where are they going to go? They're a federally protected species. Not to mention all the deer and wildlife that I love out there. I moved here to live out in the country, not live in the suburbs. And that's kind of where I stand on it.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Brian Granger?
Hi there, Brian Granger. I came to speak tonight. I'm from DeKalb, and been doing business in DeKalb as long as I've been doing business, and but also I used to live near this site as well, and so I'm coming here as a perspective as a property owner. We own some farm ground or development ground, as you're aware of. And so I was just, I had a few, I guess, points to make about data centers and what we've seen happen since they've gotten here. So I started in business in town here about 30 years ago. Building decks and fences, and so we've built some homes in town, but ultimately now we build retirement communities, and so when I started in business here, we were working for a lot of times people that worked at DeKalb Ag, people that worked for Caterpillar. We worked for people that worked at NIU, and there was a lot of job growth at the time, a lot of opportunity. That job growth has drastically diminished, and in those opportunities, that created the opportunities for us to build homes and support our families, just aren't here anymore. NIU is here, but the job growth is nothing like it was in the 90s. And and I sat in meetings, thinking about DeKalb, with groups of business people, 8 years ago, and it was pretty bleak, really. The streets had problems. The conversations weren't about prairie plants or it was about will we be able to keep the number of police that we have right now? What can we do to strengthen the schools? They were really, really tough, discouraging conversations. And back then, this would have been the best case scenario you could hope for. Some of the largest companies in the world coming to DeKalb to invest billions of dollars and create jobs. I don't know the exact numbers, but I believe Facebook now has about 300 employees with an average wage of about $85,000. So I think that their payroll is pushing $30 million. So $30 million in wages put in the hands of local Americans. I think we all know that they'll spend all $30 million. Maybe $33 million. But I think that that's how the majority of the money in the city is sales tax. And so the sales tax on $30 million is significant. And that's people that sell tires, that's people that sell food, that's people that sell homes, that is going into our local economy. And we've seen our schools strengthened financially, substantially. Our park district is building a new facility. We see money going into our roads. And I think that gives us the luxury to think about the next step, and to have projects that are really considering the concerns environmentally, which I think is outstanding and very exciting. But I think about forest preserve. I think about property values. I know a number of people have brought up property values. The majority of my time, I'm thinking and worrying about property values and property taxes. That's probably the single biggest thing I have to worry about in my line of work. So high-paying jobs in close proximity strengthens property values. And I'm not familiar with what the noise concerns would be. I'm not an expert at it. But I do think there is an expert at it involved in this project. And so I did have a home in South Point. I did sell it. It has gone up in value substantially since this project has happened. And I think that any time you can put a concentration of high-paying jobs in close proximity to residential, it strengthens the values. And I think that it probably won't be the same, like people stated. If you have a building built there, it is less like the country. I did grow up in the country, and I love the country, but I also understand that at the end of the day, we're all hopeful to strengthen our property values, and we went many years with poor property values, and as values go down, the tax rates go up. So now we're at the other side of that. We're seeing our property values climb. We're seeing our property taxes fall. And we're seeing local taxing bodies being able to make investments in our community. That means we can hire new firefighters and policemen. It means that we can support our community and dream about the next thing that we can do, opposed to sit around a table and worry about the what ifs. And I've learned a little bit about the turbo cell technology. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm a residential builder developer, but it sounds groundbreaking to me, and I think that is, I think we're going to learn more about it, but I think it is the wheel. You know, I think it is going to change energy usage as we know it, and I think it's pretty exciting that we can be a part of it. And all this growth, you know, does have impacts on what I do. You know, we're a small residential builder. When there's large projects going on, it's hard to get concrete. You know, it's hard to get people to work. Everybody's busy. But, you know, I've said many times I get stress from being slow and I get stress from being busy. And I've experienced both of those stresses. And I prefer the stress from being busy. If our main challenge is to manage a massive economic opportunity and financial gains that give us the opportunity to make a big difference in our community, those are the kind of problems I hope we continue to face. This is the golden goose, and we need to be careful not to kill it, because there's a small percentage of the United States that's gaining a massive economic opportunity from data centers like this, and we need to make sure that we can gain that huge financial benefit, and I think that we need to use these new resources wisely, and the benefits to the local residents are, we've already seen it, but this is a real opportunity to, you know, we hear about complaints about property taxes all the time. This is a massive influx of money to pay the bills that our property taxes pay. And so this is the opportunity. So I would ask you to vote yes for this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Lastly, we have Derek Davis. Not lastly.
I live in South Point. I have no problem with data centers, but I have a problem with where you want to put this. I think it's completely inconsiderate of everyone that lives there. You say you've done studies about how the negative impacts. I'm sure you did those same studies about Facebook. We have negative impacts. Our yards were flooded out during construction. We get nothing but light pollution, noise pollution, traffic, air pollution. Everything Michelle McGill said, I agree with. I think this is awful. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion. Dan Kenny.
My name is Dan Kenny. I live at 303 Birchwood Lane, DeKalb. I cannot say whether I stand here in favor or against this because I don't have enough information. And I'm thinking, hopefully, some of you are also wondering if you have enough information. I'm certainly in favor of jobs. I'm a lifetime member of a union. I'm all in favor of lower tax rates. I'm all in favor of new schools. But I'm also in favor of a lot of other things too that this could possibly jeopardize. So I'm weighing these. So one question I have, if you're keeping record of the questions, is has a natural resource inventory been done, and has that report been given to the commission? Also, we were told a few minutes ago in the presentation by the city that they're not sure how much power will be used. Why not? If they can figure out all these other things they can do, why can't they figure out exactly how much power they're going to use? Also, has a cost-benefit analysis been presented to the commission? Cost-benefit analysis seems to be required of almost every project. And I've seen some projects that is for a townhouse take much more time to go through this commission, and this seems to be on this timeline. But a cost-benefit analysis in terms of, we understand that it's going to bring in X number of dollars of property taxes, which is great. I'm very much in favor of the new elementary school that was built over in the Annie Good North neighborhood, now called Uptown. However, what did we lose in that? Has anybody done an analysis of all the costs of what was lost? If so, I would like to see that. Another thing is, I was told by Mr. Kozinski that the company will be paying paying some of the upfront costs for the infrastructure development that's necessary for the power lines and so on to be brought in. But I was not told what percentage of that are they paying, and how does that compare to what the ComEd customers and what the taxpayers will be paying for that infrastructure. What percentage are we paying, and what percentage is the company paying? Another question I have is, how many people have moved to DeKalb because of Meta? We always hear about how it's going to be great for our population to increase, more buildings, more homes. But where are the facts on that? All I know is the latest census showed our census for DeKalb went down. Now, of course, that was 2020, so maybe that will go up. I hope it does. But has anybody done a study of that? Do we know how many more people have moved to DeKalb since 2020? And I'll just close with one other question. As the commission asked themselves, how long does it take for drummer soil to form? Drummer soil is the soil that's on that land, and it was on the land where Meta is now. There was no natural resource inventory done, so maybe the commission didn't know that that was drummer soil that was being moved to make a fence or to make a berm. Scrape into the way to make a berm so they could pour concrete. Or if you're not sure, it takes 10,000 years or more to form drummer soil. Our lifespans are very minimal compared to that 10,000 year number. So I would like to have more answers to these questions before I could make a decision. And I hope you ask for more time before you make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Nancy Dory?
Thank you. My name is Nancy Doherty. I live on Fisk Avenue here in DeKalb. I drafted up something, but a few of the items have been so stated, so I'd kind of like to give you my highlights. The owner of the property and business that is requesting this zone change is Chicago West Business Center, LLC. And I understand the company that will run this project is Endeavor Energy. I'd like to have a better understanding of the relationship and responsibilities between these two companies. My understanding also is Endeavor Energy will be leasing to various clients. This would indicate DeKalb would have no input in who the data center leases or rents to. This is a concern, as normally when a business requests any zoning change, we would be dealing with that applicant and would know their business. This would mean that any issue with any leased clients would not require our approval. Our relationship for any issues would be with Chicago West Business Center, Endeavor Energy. I don't know. It also appears that various sister cities have elected not to pursue data centers at this time due to various items that are of concern. As we have stated, they are water, electricity, power to run the center, noise, pollution, and maintenance. According to this application, the owner would use natural gas instead of water for the coolant. Where does this natural gas come from? And how much is needed to run this center in comparison to water as a coolant? I would like to see a comparison. It also appears that for electricity, ComEd is going to be significant for this project until they are up and running. Also, I was questioning patents for the items that they would be using for their systems. You talked about employees. My question would be, how many employees will actually be at that location? Not the construction, not the maintenance, not the builders. What will the end line be for them? And our local paper used the word promise. Well, in business world, promise and handshake is not used. Contracts listing responsibilities of both parties are needed to be defined and itemized, stating very specific consequences if not complied with. Noise, maintenance, pollution during and after construction needs to be itemized. Also, the energy required by whatever means is functioning for the center. In any other agreed item for the benefit of DeKalb and its residents is listed, including no additional increases because of the needs of this business to residents. So we're talking energy, water, maintenance, and safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Jamie Walter.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Jamie Walter. I live at 16513 Lynch Road in DeKalb. I'm also the owner and founder of Whiskey Acres Distilling Company, which is just off the map there. Our family, the Walter family, owns the farmland to the south side of Kesslinger Road, beginning at Kriego and going for approximately 1 mile to the east. Okay. I'm here to give cautious support to this project. We certainly see the huge benefits in jobs, in economic development, and tax revenue to the county or to the city. And we're not here to get in the way of that whatsoever. But I am here to protect our interests. And our interest in our business was founded on our farming operation almost 100 years ago. So we were here long before any of this was, and I can't pick up and move very well now. And so we've continued to invest in the development of this area, putting in the distillery in 2014. We are now the #1 rated tourist attraction in all of DeKalb County. We receive over 30,000 visitors from outside the community every year. Almost 75% of our visitors travel from outside of DeKalb County. They spend money here, they're attracted to the community. We often hear that there's not a lot to do in DeKalb. And so this is one of the ways that we help to build that community experience. But part of that is that there's an agricultural component to what we do. And so right now we're sitting at this nexus, this confluence between the growth of the city, which we're not against, but also protecting our agricultural character as we continue to run our operation and continue to employ ourselves over 35 to 40 people. So we're just asking for the city to keep that in mind as we go forward. You know, I've heard a lot about, and see on the maps, lots of big berms along Route 23 in the residential areas, some, but less so, along Kesslinger Road. While there may not be as many residences there, there are some, and certainly there's the ingress and egress of our patrons that come and go from this facility, as well as what will be several years of construction traffic, impacts, noise, even just during the construction process, let alone the eventual use of the property. So we just ask that you keep that in mind in mitigating those concerns to our business and to the residents in the area. But again, thank you to Jerry, thank you to the city and Bill Nicholas and Mayor Barnes for kind of keeping us in the loop. We're not in the city, and we do thank you for keeping us a part of things, and we just ask the council, or the commission and the eventual city council to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, if there are no other speakers, I will.
You may want to ask if there's any other speakers who didn't fill out a form.
Oh, okay.
If they want to
Does
speak.
did anyone else want to speak that did not fill out a presentation form? Oh, we do have one more. I'm sorry. Oh. Was there someone back there that would like to come forward?
Hello, I'm Chris Boyes. I live at 101 Bar Boulevard, and I also have the pleasure of being president of DeKalb School Board. We've been talking a lot about economic development, and I think that that is a good catchphrase to throw around, but I think it's important that we actually highlight what does that economic development mean? Because let's be honest, telling a room full of people we gave the government more money doesn't always make us feel good. So what is that more money doing for our students in DeKalb? Let's start with Mitchell Elementary. 450 of our students now get to go to a state-of-the-art facility where they get to get STEAM technology education like never before because of our Project Lead the Way program. That is all because of the development and assistance that Meta was able to bring to our facilities. And that was a 500-acre project. This is going to be a 560-acre project, which means we can expect bigger and better things for our students. Now let's talk about our pre-K students. As many of you have seen through the Chronicle, the school district has just approved to start work on a new state-of-the-art early learning development center. That is going to see over 360 of our youngest and most vulnerable students who need support at that stage in life be advanced to a new level so that when we get them to kindergarten, they're going to be ready for education. And that's just two of the small things. Let's also talk about our dual language program, which thanks to the assistance of these different projects that have come into town, we've been able to launch across our elementary schools so that our students, by the time they get to middle school, are fluently speaking in Spanish and English, which increases their workforce capabilities as they go forward. 87%. That is where our graduation rate at the high school now is, from 5 years ago when it was at 79%, because we were able to support freshman on-track programs in our high school thanks to this economic development. Those are just a few of the things. And I can even continue to go on to tell you guys about some of the other big and amazing things going on. Let's talk about economic development for workers. We are the third largest employer in the county. Every employee within our district now makes a minimum starting wage of over $20 an hour because we were able to afford to give our employees the wages that they deserve because of this economic development. And that is money that is going back into this community. Maybe the data center has 100, 150, 200, I don't know the number of employees that are there. But think about the employees that are already here that get a higher standard of living because of this project. This is something that's going to elevate everything that we do in this community. And you know what? Yes, some of us might have a worse view because of a building that's going up. But how many of our students are going to be able to grow up and invest further in this community because of this building? You're now talking about 6,000 students a year that go through our districts that will have the best education available and the best educators available because we can afford to give them the wages they need to come and work here. So I would encourage the Planning and Zoning Commission to support this project so that we could continue to support our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have one last speaker, Lizzie Maldonado. Maldonado.
Hi, my name is Lizzie Maldonado. I'm a neighbor, mother, and homeowner here in DeKalb. I'm here today to urge you to reject this proposal. Listening to this gentleman over here, you'd think they spent years trying to build in DeKalb just for our benefit, just to help us out, right? But it's not like they don't get anything out of this exchange, obviously, and I don't really buy the incentives that they're selling. We're told that this data center will be harmless because it won't draw electricity from ComEd and it won't use large volumes of water, but the alternative that they're offering isn't impact-free, obviously. This massive campus will carry its own footprint and lock us into fossil fuel dependence for decades. Corporations like to demand that we just grow, but they don't bear the environmental consequences of that growth. We do here as residents. They want profit and they don't really care what it costs us. DeKalb is a farm town. Our identity, our history, our economy are all rooted in agriculture. And once that farmland is gone, once you change the character of that land, there's no getting it back. Every time a corporation shows up with a glossy site plan, we are told that we have to hand out millions in incentives and tax abatements just to stay competitive and embrace change. But what that really means long-term is that they get deep tax cuts while the rest of us make up the difference. They'll drive heavy equipment on our roads, rely on our infrastructure and emergency services, and contribute to wear and tear that the public will have to pay to fix. We already know that the Meta Center skipped out on much of its taxes for the first few years, and even when they pay, they get a 45% abatement. Meanwhile, residents are seeing utility hikes and rising costs across the board. We're effectively subsidizing these companies in exchange for a handful of jobs while they extract enormous value from our community, our land, our resources. That's corporate welfare. It's not economic development, in my opinion. We don't offer those incentives to our own farmers. We don't offer those incentives to our small businesses. Our small businesses don't get 45% abatements or anything like that. Families obviously get even less, and others to support responsible growth. We deserve jobs and opportunities. We deserve funding for our education, obviously. We deserve all those things, but not by making this kind of trade on our future. This is not the future that I want for DeKalb. I don't think it's the future that everyone here, most people here at least tonight, don't want. I urge this commission to reject this rezoning and protect our land and our community from yet another mega data center. We're already propping one up with our tax abatements and rate hikes and other costs. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the matter? Mr. Trevant?
I'm so glad this room is packed here. My name is Mark Charvat. I'm speaking as a citizen, but I also am a member of the DeKalb School Board. I agree with much of what Chris Boyce said earlier regarding the revenue that will be generated from this data center. But I also want to address the Plan Commission that I want you folks to address the questions that have been asked by the public. You are the conduit for which they are to get the answers to the information, and I hope the city manager will address these before the meeting as well. There were a lot of good questions asked here, and I know it's not a Q&A. Actually, a public hearing can be a Q&A. It used to go that way before, but those questions do need to be answered, and I think it's only fair as public servants to answer the questions that these citizens have. There's a lot of good questions here, and they need to be answered prior to the city council approving this next Monday, because after you approve it, next Monday, it goes before the city council. So be fair to your community and get the questions answered. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charvat. Anyone else? Ma'am?
Hello, I'm Mel Zimmerman. I live at 17821 Route 23 in DeKalb, which is currently just 4 houses south of Gurler Road. And we moved there, 9 years ago, and we watched our landscape change with the first Meta Center. We watched our nice sunrise view go away and thought, okay, you know what, we'll live with it. We enjoy our backyard, our kids play back there, and now this is going to be taken away from us. I keep hearing about benefits for the city, benefits for the city. We're unincorporated. We're on well, we're on septic. My children play park district activities, sports. I pay extra for out-of-district fees. I have to pay extra to come to this library because I'm out of district. I'm unincorporated. But now you're going to surround us with this huge data center. It's going to only not affect us. We are one of the most affected by this, but we don't get any benefits from the city with it. I'd like you to think about that before you vote yes for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, sir?
My name is Fred Walker. I live at 17610 Route 23 South in DeKalb. I'm right in the middle of this project, and I have just moved 1 block south, so I'm still right in the middle of this project. I'm in favor of the project. The only thing that I hear at night is the Elvis Special train going by. And I see nothing of Metra or anything east of me. That's about all I have to say.
Okay.
I'm in favor of the project.
Thank you for participating. Anyone else? Ma'am? Oh, please step forward.
My name's Charles Brown, and I live on 1320 South Malta Road. It's not against this project, or my property's not contiguous to it, but I was very happy to hear that they're not going to use the water as a main cooling source. Meta's, using 200,000 gallons a day to cool their current plant. But I heard over here this evening that if you approve this project as presented, they do not have to come back for any other approvals if they wish to change the project in terms of how they might cool their data banks. Is that correct? Or is that going to be something that they would have to come back and ask for approval if they decide after the first building's up that they are going to use water as the cooling method for the remaining buildings?
I believe, I'm sorry, Bill, do you want to address that?
Charlie, the annexation and development agreement is patterned after the one between the city and Meta. The language is the same. We don't presume to go into a factory or in this case a data center and explain or to demand how they do this or do that. There are protections in the agreement with respect to water, roads, and so forth. Plans have to come back if they are, for instance, there would be multiple phases here, and so there'll be other final plats that will be coming in, and those are reviewed at the staff level, and they are done with the same thoroughness and intelligence that we have been doing ever since Chicago West was started. You see the result of that, which is pretty much what was promised, and we've had a number of people here say this is how they said it was going to look, and this is what we're concerned about. But we don't have, by right or by license, a way to go in and talk about what a machine looks like, how big a machine is, and what the use and so forth is.
I understand that, but you do understand that I think the community is very happy and thankful that they are going to use a cooling method that does not require vast quantities of water and tapping our water supply. But if they do change their plan because of economics or whatever for the other phases of this project and decide to go back and cool the systems the same way Meta's doing it,
I see
what right will the public have to weigh in?
Well, that's
on
a
that
city
change?
council decision. We have processes through the year culminating in a budget process which looks at the water system, what our annual usage is, and what our projected usage is for the coming year. We have an intimate relationship with the IEPA, as you know, and we report every day in terms of the pumpage that we do. So we're a water utility. We have provenance over that. We don't get dictated by any company in terms of how much we will pump and when we can do it and what the parameters are for responsible water design and modeling. We just did for the first time since 2005, I think it was. No, excuse me, 2012. A year-and-a-half water modeling study and system review, which indicated where we are with our capacity, and it was a good report card, I guess you would say. But it made us even more sensitive to the fact that we are part of two aquifers, a shallow and a deep aquifer that we don't control. It serves the region, and we know what our part of that is, and we're very mindful of how to deal with that responsibly. And if people at the staff level, myself, successor, people sitting here, don't have that, ultimately, the council, the mayor and the council have that responsibility to the taxpayers to represent that.
If I may too, there's a substantial difference between the annexation agreement, or the proposed annexation agreement with, for this data center than with the Meta data center, and that substantial difference relates to the Meta data center had a water agreement and had provisions for water infrastructure, and that water agreement was an exhibit to the development agreement that ensured that there was certain capacity for the Meta data center. That does not exist for this one, and the reason why it doesn't exist is because they don't need the water. But if they needed the water, I just wanted to address your concern. If they needed the water, they would need to ask for certain incentives to be had that would have to be an amendment to the annexation agreement as it exists. They would have to go back to the council and there'd be a public hearing process, there'd have to be an amendment, so there would be input there. There's also in just the proposed zoning standards, which is the reason why we're here, is that the final approval of the plans is subject to the city manager, who is of course responsive to the city council and to the residents of the city.
Well, I just wanted to bring out that I think the community is certainly in favor of this project. But a large part of it is due to the fact that they're not going to be using vast quantities of water to cool the system. I mean, the Meta project has a $200,000 cap, daily cap, right? That was negotiated on the use of water.
Happily, I can report that they have not, as a rule, hit that mark.
I mean, there's a lot of private wells still in this area that draw their water from that shallow and the deeper aquifer. And I can't imagine there's one industry in this entire county that uses 200,000 gallons of water a day.
Yeah, the hospital does.
The hospital uses 200,000 gallons of water
They have a
per day?
will-served letter as well. Yeah. Well, we have, well, we're talking apples and oranges here, aren't we? Because there is no will-serve letter in this, and because we determined that we didn't want to, as we were starting in discussion, as we've come to this point, one of the focuses and one of the good things that we thought as DeKalb residents was that there wasn't going to be substantial water use. It's basically a closed system, as Jerry Krasinski said, meaning water's put into tubing and it is used then for various purposes in the machinery that create the electricity. And that is, and we also have water use obviously for restrooms and the like, but otherwise it's not used to sprinkle over heat exchangers to cool elements of the heating cooling system.
Well, again, this is a wonderful project. The community's going to benefit from it. And if there were a major change in the way that the system is need to be cooled with water, I would just hope that the council, if not the commission, will give the community an opportunity to weigh in on any changes to the project that would be of that sort of magnitude that could really impact the rest of our community. So
I can go on record, Charlie, as saying, as the city attorney said, that's exactly what would have to happen, that the agreement can't be modified without council approval.
Well, I hope, Bill, you and I are here when that day comes, because I do trust that that would be the case. Thank you.
In the back, would you like to step forward?
Linda O'Connor. Linda O'Connor. I live at 419 Gale Avenue. I'm wondering if this water ever needs to be switched out.
I don't believe it's water, it's a sealed system, correct?
The still system?
But again, we
It's
can
a
add that to
closed
our.
system?
we can add that
Maybe
to it.
appropriate to ask
Yeah,
the applicant to respond to the various questions and comments that.
Yeah, we've been making a short list of things, and we're going to ask them to step
Okay.
forward in a moment and
Yeah.
review some of those.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Please.
Hi, I'm Sylvan Broussard. I'm a student at NIU. I just wanted to take a quick moment to give voice to people here that don't want to stand up because they feel the pressure of the barrier of entry that comes with very scientific topics like this. So if it would be amenable, I would want to have just a show of hands of who is against this, so that people here that don't have the vocabulary to say what they want to say can still show where they stand.
No,
on
I'm
this
sorry.
topic.
We can't take a survey of the audience. I mean,
A 5-second hand raise?
legally, I don't think we can, no. I mean, it's not a vote, as it were, and this is, I understand what you're asking, but this is certainly not indicative of the entire community. I appreciate that everyone's shown up, but I think that'll be more evident when it comes to city council if it does go before them.
I think that the purpose of this meeting is to hear people's voices, and I think that this is a way to hear the voices when they don't have the words to explain what
It
they want
is,
to say.
but that's why we ask people to come forward and speak. And I appreciate you attempting to represent them, but as a group, we need individuals to come forward and speak their minds, so
Okay.
I appreciate it, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there's anyone else, if not, I will close,
I have the-
in the back, please.
My name is Liam Stone. I've lived here in this area my whole life. The one thing I've noticed so far about this meeting is that, for the most part, the only people who are in support of this are people affiliated with business and companies around here. And most of the questions that are being asked by the people, the concerned people, aren't really being answered. So they're like, the main answer that everyone seems to be giving about the concerns is jobs and money for the. So the last question's like, what about the soil degradation of the cornfields? And the answer is jobs and money. Or what about the property values? And the answer is jobs and money. Or what about environmentalism and the jobs and money? So at the very least, I think that they need to answer some of those questions first, directly, rather than just jobs and money.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if not, I will close the public hearing.
Under the hearing, you probably, let's have the applicant respond.
sorry?
Let's have the applicant respond to the various questions and comments.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
Oh, sorry.
Please.
My name is Brian Baleka. I am a lifelong resident of this area. I was born and raised here. I went to DeKalb schools. I am a current faculty member at one of our schools. And the thing I would say as a concerned citizen who will be living here for presumably the rest of my life, and I sure hope that I'm able to do so, is that we're talking about how much money this is going to bring to the area. And before all of this started coming down, we decided that it was not financially responsible for these companies to build these things in this area. But when financial incentives were offered for them to go here, suddenly now it makes sense for us to build these things around here. And the question that I would offer, why is it only when we're offering all these incentives, we have a tax rate that says if you're going to build these things here and have this impact on the area, you need to pay these tax rates. Well, but we really want you to be here, so you don't actually have to pay all of that money to the things that are going to be built here. And there's a reason that those things are at those rates, because of the impact that it has on the residents, the infrastructure in this area. And if that is the only reason that those things are going to be built here, then we should maybe ask ourselves, do we really need to offer that? If it's going to be financially responsible for those people to build those things in this area, perhaps they should pay the full rate for those things and not have these tax incentives where their amounts are being abated, because they don't do that for my taxes around here, and I don't think they do that for anybody else who lives in this area. So should we all be treated the same, or are some people more special than others? Okay, so at the very least, that should be considered before we go forward with this decision to bring these things to the area. All right, if it's worth it for them to do it, they can pay the full rate that everybody else does as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to bring, could the representatives from Endeavor stand forward? Step forward.
I think maybe if there's going to be questions, maybe in interest of time and efficiency, the three of us can come up and answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in order for us to ask questions, I have to close the hearing, correct?
Keep it under the hearing? Keep it
This
under
way,
the
if there's questions, we can guide the question to the appropriate person.
Okay, sounds good. Several came up, and I was trying to just do a compilation, and everybody else chime in if you have others. One of the first factors was noise, and I know that that has been discussed, but perhaps you could explain it a little bit further as to what little impact it will have?
Maybe Bill and James can hit that both.
I'll start. My name's William Bone with Jacob and Hefner Associates. We authored the sound study for this project. So basically, we look at what type of equipment will be present that emits noise, right? And there's really three main noise sources from a data center. It's traffic. In this case, there's very little traffic, but traffic does generate noise. The HVAC units that are mounted on the roof, those generate noise, and then the turbo cells generate noise. So we used information provided by the makers of the turbo cell and their proprietary HVAC system. Plug that into our model. We use a SoundPlan Pro. It's an industry standard model to model with the various turbo cells, the roof-mounted HVAC, and the traffic for all four buildings. And we compare that noise to really two regulations, right? The city of DeKalb has a noise ordinance. It has a daytime limit and has a nighttime limit. The nighttime limit is lower than the daytime limit. And then the Illinois Pollution Control Board has, they kind of look at it differently. They don't just look at straight decibels. They look at 9 different frequency bands because they do recognize that different frequencies affect people differently. And they have limits for each of those frequency bands. So we have to meet that. So we ran all that through our modeling, and with the proposed mitigation, we have a 22-foot high sound wall around all the turbo cells, a parapet on top of the roof, and then on top of the parapet, an acoustical wall that will fully enclose the HVAC system, which will further, reduce the noise level. So based on our model, we are well below on the DeKalb for both daytime and nighttime, and also below on all the different frequency bands for Illinois Pollution Control Board.
Okay, thank you very much.
I would like to just add to that. In the very beginning of our presentation, we learned several things from Meta. I said there were a lot of similarities and there were things that we were changing. And this is one of the items that we're specifically changing to improve the development.
Thank you, Jerry. The cooling systems, I think if those were explained a little more thoroughly, perhaps there wouldn't be as much concern about it.
Okay, sure. So my name's James Feasy. I'm with Endeavor. Just for a little bit of background on Endeavor, just so it makes sense with Endeavor Edged. Endeavor is a purpose-built trust. We invest and invent breakthrough technologies, and then we build the companies that scale those to market. We have a data center platform, but unlike other data center platforms, we actually own the IP and build the systems that go into our data centers. So we're not beholden to what comes off the shelf from the usual vendors. And we have a very heavy focus on sustainability within our business. Now, we talked a little bit about some of the other systems, or people have talked about some of the systems, but one of the first systems that we built and brought to market was ThermalWorks. The most effective and cheapest way to cool heat generated by servers in a data center is by the direct evaporation of water. That is why traditionally hyperscalers have evaporated significant amounts of water to cool their equipment, because water is cheaper than electrons. We took a belief that was unsustainable and not viable for the industry in the long term. So in the face of all the largest technology companies in the country building these water-based direct evaporative systems. We spent our own R&D dollars to build a closed-loop system that delivered the same efficiencies as those direct evaporative solutions, but without needing to evaporate any water. So the system is charged once on day one, and then that same water is retained in a closed-loop system. And so that system is completely self-contained. It's not, any sort of leakage from that system would be really detrimental to the efficiency. So it is designed to be a 20-year closed-loop system. So we don't need any more water. That is in stark contrast to how the vast majority of data centers that you read about in this space are cooling their equipment. But one of the key things we wanted to do is not have any trade-off in efficiency, because the trade-off of changing your cooling system is that you need more energy to cool the same equipment. So in the industry, there is a metric called PUE, which is power utilization effectiveness. It is from the total energy, the total power coming in the building, how much of that is actually being used to power compute workloads, and how much of that is being used as overhead to cool the compute workloads. A perfect PUE would be 1, right? Traditionally, you had direct evaporative solutions at like 1.2, 1.15, and any waterless systems go back 5 years, because this is not a new invention, we have just optimized it, we're at 1.5. So it meant that you were having to draw more power to actually fulfill the same compute load. Our systems run at a max PUE of 1.15 and an average PUE of 1.08. So they are extremely efficient. Nearly all the power coming into that building is going to serve the compute load. Added benefit, we are not having to evaporate large sums of water in order to achieve that.
Thank you very much. Sightlines also came into play at some point, I think, for some of the residents. Could you bring up just some of the elevation views? Would any of you like to just talk about what the potential sightline is? I mean, again, I think that's an aesthetic thing, but I think it's minimized by the retention or the deafening wall, right?
You know, this is near and dear to my heart, and as much as I appreciate and respect Meta's berm along 23 and Fairview, unfortunately, it is just a straight berm, correct? And it's, in my opinion, it does screen the development, but it's a little bit rigid. So if you were to go to our concept plan, you'll see that the berming that we're doing is undulating and it's an irregular shape. I am very sensitive to the perception and the look around here, and that's one of the ways to do that, is make this berming at various heights and make it undulating, and so that the footprint also is not just this primarily rectangular configuration. And we can supplement that with landscaping and some other things. So we have the line of sight drawings in the 8 different studies that we completed that really address the varying heights with that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Does that include the, I think it was Melissa had an issue?
Yeah, and again, that is a, you know, if there are some areas that we can be more sensitive to with a combination of landscaping, berming, and even adjusting these detention ponds. Let's face it, this is not the final engineering, but if there are some ways where we can reconfigure the pond a little bit to create some more green space, we want to do that. But I think this was a very good first attempt to try to, you know, capture what our ultimate goal is.
Thank you. Other questions? Oh, someone did ask a question earlier. I'm sorry. What would be, once the building is constructed, what would be the total employment by the time all phases are completed?
Unfortunately, Elda had to leave. She had to, she's trying to catch a flight, and she's on her way back to O'Hare. But I did question Elda before she departed. The first building will be approximately 100 full-time employees. I can't speak for the following buildings. I don't know if, James, you have a little bit of insight?
Yeah, the buildings there are in a sort of standard deployment format, so they would scale linearly. So you're looking at 100 per build. So as we go through the phase, you'd have another 100 jobs.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, sir, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I had a question. You're building all these buildings, and I live right next to it on Gurley Road, and we have a water problem as far as flooding. And where's all the drain water going to go? On the roofs and parking lots, roads?
Correct me if I'm not, that's the retention ponds, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what they're for.
Yeah, that's right. So you see all the blue areas on the plan. We have extensive stormwater detention throughout every phase of the project. Anywhere where the existing farm field has low-lying areas that pond water now during large storm events, we call that depressional storage. So we actually replace that, or compensate that lost volume when we grade the site in the pond. So we take that depressional storage and add it to the detention volume that we're already providing. So we're kind of going above and beyond to make sure we're, solving any existing drainage issues and certainly not causing any future ones.
Thank you very much. Additional questions?
Oh, yeah, one other item that Jerry reminded me, we're doing an existing drain tile survey of the farm fields. So that'll give us an idea of where the farmer had put all the drain tiles throughout the year. So we'll make sure that any drain tiles that are needing to function beyond, when we develop, we'll tie those into our stormwater management system so they function properly.
Good to know.
Mr. Chairman, he was making reference to the fact that there is a drainage district which is about as old as the townships in Illinois, and there are a number of drainage districts in our region, and there is one in particular that has purview over this area, and Mr. Bone and his team are in contact.
Good to know. Thank
He
you for the
spoke to the drain
clarification.
tiles. That's one of the things, but not the only thing that the drainage district deals with.
Are there any incentives for the schools to connect? The gentleman talked in the back about how Meta had given to some opportunities at the schools. Is there any connection here? Or is that something that's happening later?
I think that was based on the tax base.
Because the tax rate's going up.
Yeah, it's based on the taxes. That's what he
What Mr. Boyes was referring to, I believe, is that in the last 3 years, $32+ million have gone to the school district in taxes from one place, that is Meta, and that has been used basically to pay in cash for that new elementary school in the northwest corner of our community.
Can I ask another question?
Yes. Just state your name again, please.
Shirley Belega, Gurley Road. I still have a question about the noise, because it may be a low-level noise, will we hear it? That's what I want to know. Because I've read about other data centers where people can hear that 24/7, even if it's a dog barking, and that's a low level, if you hear it 24/7, it's going to drive you nuts. So I want to know, with these additional sound barriers, will we hear it?
Yeah, I think the answer is depending on where you live and how close you are to the facilities. I think the bottom line is the city of DeKalb has a noise ordinance that's been around for quite some time to protect the public. We are required to meet those noise limits at our property line. And we have a study that demonstrates that we do meet those noise limits above and beyond the city of DeKalb. As I mentioned previously, the Illinois Pollution Control Board looks into the different frequency levels. What we hear, on other data centers is the lower frequency is what's driving everybody nuts. And the Illinois Pollution Control Board has limits for those lower, the lower frequency range. So we're meeting all those requirements.
Thank you. I'm sorry, please. Could you step forward, Sorry.
Keith Bisplinghoff, I remembered my name. I didn't have as many questions as I have now. So one thing I'd like to ask is your system for cooling. It just sounds to me like you're doing the same thing my car does. What cools the liquid going through? Does it go through a radiator?
So, yeah.
This may not be a short answer.
So, the way the cooling works, it depends on the ambient temperature of the air outside. So we have free cooling coils built into our cooling system. So it will come back into a chiller. It will expel any heat it can with a delta to the outside ambient air.
So you mean the coolant runs outside first into cooler air and then comes back in?
No, the water in the closed loop system runs through these microchannel coils.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still running internally within the microchannel coils. They're just exposed to the external ambient air temperature. So on a day like today, all of the heat that's generated within the system would be rejected into the atmosphere because the outside air would be cooling that water that's running through. In very hot days in the summer, we have a mechanical assist, so we use a compressor, and that has 2 refrigerant loops within the chiller, and we run the water in series through those, and those refrigerant loops bring that water back down to set point to go back into the data center and cool the equipment.
So at that point, you're still using electricity?
Yes, I mean, at any point you're using a degree of electricity because you're using pumps to pump the system. We, in order to drive down our efficiency, are looking to minimize electricity use wherever possible. So when I talked about the PUEs, we're only able to achieve these ultra-low PUEs because at every point in the system where you could use electricity, we are doing as much as we can not to use that to ensure that all the electricity coming into the facility is really going into generating, compute output versus cooling the equipment.
Okay, but it's not non-electrical, you're still using...
No, yeah, we still need electric.
In the cooling system.
Correct. As in any cooling system, even in just to be clear, even in a water-based direct evaporative system, you would still be using electricity.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure that, I'm just not sure that everybody here understood that your system was...
Yes, so the electricity component is that when I was explaining about PUE, and you can go away and look up PUE and it'll give a much sort of more eloquent explanation than I'm giving here. There's some nice YouTube videos on it. But if you, the PUE of a data center is extremely important because it shows how efficiently it's using the energy that's coming into the facility. And so the closer you are to 1, the more effective you're using that. A lot of data centers, if you look at the industry average outside of hyperscale data centers, that's 1.5, 1.6. A lot of the hyperscalers, they're sort of closer to 1.2, and we're sort of all the way down, really targeting a design PUE of 1.08 and a max PUE of 1.15.
Okay, thank you for your...
Thank you both. Any other questions, comments from the commission?
Years ago, when Meta
I'm
was...
sorry, just for the record, if you'd state your name one more time.
Ben Roders.
Thank you.
Years ago, when we guys were getting Meta to come in, you said nothing would move past 23 going west. Right? Do you remember saying that?
I don't.
All right, well, I very distinctly remember it. So I guess, where does it stop? Like, where do these data centers stop? Are we going to keep inviting them into town until they're just in all of our backyards? I mean, we have a bunch of, unoccupied factories that could be demolished, and this could go in town, like off Peace Road or somewhere. But why are they going to be in our backyards? Why? What's the point?
We've shown them or designate our industrial areas, which I showed the comp plan for future industrial development, including data centers. So there's vacant land shown as industrial uses. Data centers would be welcome in that particular location.
All right.
Anyone else?
Looking for new information, I think,
Yeah.
at this point.
Do you have new questions?
No, but I did want to reiterate the ones that I had, just because I feel they do need to be addressed. Because, we had a small list of things, but in the literature, it was made reference to this facility is hydrogen compatible from day one. And I'd also like an explanation on the, as it was referred to, innovative methane pyrolysis, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so the way it's hydrogen compatible is that the turbo cell system can run on hydrogen directly. So in order to make that real, and as part of our commitment to sustainability, we've also invested very heavily in technologies that will make it possible to generate hydrogen at a cost-effective level. Because then, what we're creating when we combust that, the byproduct is water. So the pyrolysis technique is we use catalytic cracking. We take methane out of natural gas. We crack that into hydrogen and then solid carbon. We then sequester that solid carbon, which is a byproduct of that catalytic reaction, and the hydrogen gets fed into the turbo cell system. So at that point, the hydrogen then enables turbo cell to act as carbon neutral baseload power.
Okay, thank you. By the way, I just want to applaud all the efforts that you've made to make this as eco-friendly as possible. I mean, the technology is amazing in and of itself, but the thought that went behind it is impressive.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No?
I do. I had a couple of questions. So the turbo cells, kind of how I understood it was that they're temporary until the ComEd stuff is online. Is that how I should have understood it?
Yeah, the turbo cell system acts as what we would term bridging power. So before utility is available, we have distributed on-site generation that can act as prime load power to the data center.
Okay.
From that point onwards, you can use that on-site distribution to do things like participate in demand response. The benefit of having on-site generation is traditionally data centers have simply just used tier 2 diesels.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing with tier 2 diesels is they're dirty. You can only get permits to use them in emergencies. So you've got all this on-site generation, megawatts and megawatts of generation that can only be used in an emergency. With these systems, because they are able to be utilized for microgrid hours, you can actually, once you're finished bridging, rather than just hand over to the utility, and now you're at the mercy of the utility, you can retain those on-site distributed generation assets. And what you can now do is participate in demand response. So what that means is utilities, a lot of what's rising costs in utilities is utilities always have to balance supply and demand. And in order to balance supply and demand, they need to make sure they've got enough generation to deal with the worst days of the year. So the coldest nights in the middle of February, the hottest days in the middle of July. That is generation capacity that they cannot utilize or monetize for most of the year. So by having a data center that's able to participate in demand response, what we can say to that utility is, hey, you've got all this generation capacity that you can't use or monetize. We will give you an off-ticker for that capacity. And when you need that capacity to actually satisfy peak for your residential clients in the hottest days of summer or the coldest days of winter, we will jump off the grid and we'll use our own distribution assets. So that now allows them to monetize otherwise sort of withheld generation assets, which should actually make it far more competitive market dynamics for electricals.
Okay. One other question kind of related to that was, okay, so once the ComEd stuff is online and everything, how is that going to change the noise situation around that? Because it's going to be different equipment. working to an extent. I mean, the cooling system's going to be the same. It's just the energy.
Yeah, so the turbo cell systems would then only run if you're using utility as primary when you opted not to be running on
Sure.
primary utility.
So, percentage idea of what the diminishment of noise to that, or is it kind of?
I
all
don't have a
theoretical at this
percentage, but
point?
it's significant.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there is a possibility, once everything's online, that after the bridge period, or is what we're gonna call it, from the turbo cell 100% of the time to ComEd, it could be a diminishment of sound?
It will certainly be a
Okay.
diminishment. yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Let's see. Anybody else got questions?
We're not guinea pigs here, right? I mean, you have these data centers running elsewhere at this point.
Yeah, correct. We've
Using this
got,
technology.
right now, we've got 13 data centers globally. The technology that we are talking about, when you're building at the scale that we build in some of these markets, a gigawatt of data center capacity is a multi-billion dollar investment for a tech company. They don't write those checks lightly. They employ armies and armies of very smart people whose job it is to do diligence and make sure these things are going to work as advertised. So this most certainly isn't sort of new or experimental. These things have been tested rigorously and also been signed off on by some of the sort of smartest, most rigorous engineers on the planet. So.
At some point, I do need to close the public hearing, correct?
Yeah, if you're ready,
Okay.
commission to discuss and deliberate.
Okay, I just didn't want to. And if there's nobody else that would like to speak to we'll close the public hearing, and again, open it up to the commission.
We've had a lot of discussion on this. I think it sounds like a great opportunity for DeKalb. I know that there's some opposition in the room, but all things considered, I think that this is an excellent opportunity. And I appreciate Mr. Krasinski and the company for coming and answer our questions, and I appreciate the community's input on this. But I'm ready to, my questions have been answered as a commissioner.
I would agree. I think you've done a great job of presentation. I appreciate everyone coming out, and obviously we want to have your voices heard, but all my questions have been answered. Anyone else?
I still have concerns. Most of my concerns are really issues that are better handled with council and their broader view on this matter. I mean, our say on this kind of stuff is rather focused on, stuff like, do we want to annex this parcel into the city? I don't see any reason to not annex this parcel. We've had many years of discussions over different kinds of proposed zoning, looking at different bubbles in the community, what is best used in different areas, and this is following all those many years of plans. But I do have real concerns about sound, any kinds of environmental impact. And I think those are questions that need to be asked. They've been brought up, and they need to be, these conversations need to be continued, not only here, but with council and everybody's representatives there, because they really deal with all of the constituents rather than just annexation and rezoning. On face value, there's definitely the potential for some really great things for us, but I still have real concerns and reservations about all those things.
Okay, thanks, Trix. Anybody else?
For those that are here and we didn't answer all the questions, because I know there's still a lot of unanswered, I would go to council. Our hands are,
Certainly.
our role here is just for the annexation part. So I strongly advise you if that's what your concern is, because we're not ignoring you, we just can only do so much here.
Our mandate is to make sure that it fits the plan.
Yeah. The rezoning, the findings of fact,
Mhm.
development plan, if it should be rezoned to PDI, development standards, that's kind of the scope as discussed with the commission.
Yeah.
And with the sample motion, if somebody makes that, if they want to add Mr. Burns' additional language, which you're all handed, you should note that at the end of the sample motion, if that's your wishes. You can just say, subject to the following language for the conservation area, and then the language that Mr. Burns provided is kind of, that should be included in the motion if you're agreeable to that.
Yes. Okay, if that is the case, I will ask for a motion to approve with the addendum.
I can make a motion. Based upon the submitted petitions and testimony presented, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its findings of fact and recommend to the City Council approval of the rezoning upon annexation from the SFR1 Single Family Residential District to the PDI Planned Development Industrial District for the subject property located on a 560-acre site along the east and west sides of State Route 23, north of Kesslinger Road and west of Creco Road, for the construction of a multi-phase data center development or edged, including a total of 4 data center campus buildings and 2 electrical substations. Approval also includes the development plans, building elevations, and final plat as listed in Exhibit A, and the subject to the planned development standards listed in Exhibit B, and also that the provision that this paragraph, which was on page 13, of the provision of this paragraph cannot be amended on any or present or future plans as submitted by Mr. Burns.
So moved by McMahon. May I have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who?
Go ahead.
Tom?
I second.
Second by Fellamon. May I have a roll call, please?
Fellobaum,
Yes.
O'Flaherty,
Yes.
Enid Graham,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
McMahon,
Yes.
Chair Maxwell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Take 5, quick, few minutes. 5 minutes.
Recess? Huh? You said recess?
Yeah, 2 more.
Tom, did you relax the background?
Actually, did read about the generators. Those are pretty amazing. Thank you. Quantum computing will come out by then, and these things will be worthless. You'll be doing it from something. You'll be doing it from the size of the table. Okay. Can we take a 5-minute recess? Okay. Could I call Olivia? Could I call a recess for 5 minutes, please? Could I call a recess for 5 minutes? Thank you.
I make a motion for us to have a brief recess.
Could I have a motion to recess for 5 minutes?
So moved.
So moved by O'Flaherty, seconded,
I second.
seconded by Pena Graham. All in favor, say aye. Aye. So moved by Wright.
I'll
I
second it.
Oh.
Second by McMahon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Second item on our agenda tonight.
This won't last as long.
Yeah.
Hold on one moment. One moment, Chair. Yeah.
Sorry.
Didn't I say 3 hours?
There we go. Okay. Second motion on or the second
You're right.
item of business is a public hearing and petition by the City of DeKalb for text amendments to Chapter 23 Unified Development Ordinance UDO of the Municipal Code. The proposed amendments are to Article 5.04 MRF 1 Multifamily Residential District and Article 5.05 MFR 2 Multifamily Residential District of the UDO to add lodging house to the list of special land uses in both districts.
Yes, you have a staff report for the text amendment. This relates to the next hearing, which is a request for put a youth shelter in a location, College Avenue. But we have to amend the UDO first or propose that for a lodging house. It basically is a shelter. It's a dwelling unit with sleeping accommodations and/or meals up to not more than 20 persons seeking shelter on a temporary basis for indefinite periods of time and open to the public and transients. So that's a lodging house or a shelter. Hope Haven is a lodging house, determined to be that. So
Gotcha.
the text amendments are to add that use, lodging house, as a special use in the multifamily districts, MFR1, MFR2, both of those. So there is some findings of fact we look at for text amendments consistent with the comp plan. It certainly is. It's not against it. Does it meet the purpose of the multifamily districts? And we believe it does as a special use. The multifamily, you have other uses somewhat similar, like small and large community residences, or that, which are residences for people with disabilities. So it's somewhat related to that. We also have group homes as a special use in the multifamily district. And the group home is an alternate location for people incarcerated that were in prison and the criminal offense. So that's a special use. We felt that this use would be fitting for special use in those two districts too. So we think it meets the findings of fact, and there's an Exhibit A that just adds lodging house as a special use in those two districts. We recommend approval.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this? Please step forward.
Probably speak on the next, Paul, which talks about the specific location.
Oh.
This is just amending the ordinance to add that use in the district, so you probably want to speak at the next hearing. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, if not, I'll close the public hearing and open it up to comments and questions from the commission.
I only had one question about it. So if somebody wanted to turn their multifamily, like a rooming house, into a shelter or something like that, would that still come before planning and zoning?
Yeah.
It's just, we're just doing that, and every time there would be a use like this, it would still come?
Yeah, any lodging house proposed, it would have to go through special use process, public hearing,
Okay.
notification to neighbors. Yep.
Okay.
It just allows them to look in that area, correct?
Right, and that we don't
It
have.
just allows them to look in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure.
Yep.
All right, any comments, questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
So moved by Wright. May I have a second? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's-
Guess I want to get out of here worse than I thought.
Based upon the submitted petition, testimony presented, and findings of fact, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its finding of fact and recommend to the City Council approval of special use permit for lodging house at 220 College Avenue, subject to the following conditions. 1, no more than 16 youth ages 14.
No. We're doing the text amendment, not the special use.
That one.
I got that one. All right. Staff recommends approval, this one. Based upon the submitted petition and testimony presented, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the City Council approval of text amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance regarding lodging houses as indicated in Exhibit A.
So moved by Wright. May I have a second?
I second.
Second by O'Flaherty. May I have a roll call, please?
Philibon,
Yes.
O'Flaherty,
Yes.
Cindy Graham,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
McMahon,
Yes.
Chair Maxwell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Okay, the third item tonight, public hearing, a petition by Family Service Agency of DeKalb County, Inc. for a special use permit for a lodging house for the property located at 220 College Avenue. We have a staff report? Oh, we have a presentation?
We have an applicant, yep.
Oh, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tanisha Feig. I'm the Executive Director of Family Service Agency. So I'm here tonight to ask for your approval of a special use permit so that we can utilize the property at 220 College Avenue as a youth emergency shelter. So a little bit about youth emergency shelter. The shelter's primary purpose is to offer a secure, stable, and nurturing environment for young people who lack consistent housing. These youth are ages 14 to 18, and when I say 18, I mean their 18th birthday, so 14 to 17. And our goal is to address their immediate needs for safety, food, and shelter, while providing resources to support long-term stability, education, and self-sufficiency. Our mission is to empower youth to overcome challenges related to homelessness and help them build pathways towards productive, independent lives. This facility would have 16 beds. It would be supervised 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by awake staff. Our goal is to have 3 staff members. By statute or by rules and regulations of DCFS and others, it is 2 minimum, but we really think it's important for us to have 3. In addition to that, we will have clinicians on staff, so licensed clinical social workers or licensed clinical therapists to provide ongoing support and case management to these youth. The average stay of youth is 21 days. So this isn't a long-term housing group home. This is a temporary emergency shelter. Youth can stay for up to 120 days under special circumstances, but again, the average stay is 21 days under our licensing that we would be receiving through the Department of Children and Family Services. In addition to the overnight accommodations, we would provide meals, snacks, hygiene, laundry facilities, case management, individualized support plans, the counseling and mental health that I spoke of, educational supports and linkages to schools, life skill training. That to us, that is critical. I mean, obviously mental health is incredibly important, but teaching these youth how to become adults is one of our primary goals. And so that they are productive members of society when they turn 18. We will, again, as I said, operate this 24/7 by very trained staff. There will, in addition to the staff on site, there are directors, case managers, and counselors that will rotate in and out of the site. Let's see. The whole point of this is to reduce risks associated with street homelessness, such as victimization, exploitation, and interrupted education. Since July 1st of this year, we run a runaway lockout program. Every county in the United States has what is called a comprehensive community-based youth services. And what we do is we respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to youth who have either been locked out of their home or have run away from home. Since July 1, we have had 16 of those youth. Majority of those, I will say about 70 to 75% of those are parents refusing to let their kids come home, more so than runaways. So the purpose of this shelter would be to house those children on a temporary basis while we work with the families and the youth to resolve whatever conflicts may be going on and provide those ongoing services. Currently, those youth are being taken to Rockford or Schaumburg or another area in the suburbs for housing, meaning they can't attend school. They don't have the resources and support that we could provide them here because they're being taken significantly out of county, not just over the county line. So by providing the shelter here, we would be able to meet those needs of those youth. I know that there has been a couple questions throughout the neighborhood, and I'd like to address some of those. Hopefully I can address most of those, but if there are more, I certainly welcome them. Let me just go through here, sorry. I talked about the staff. As far as local residency and school enrollment, that was one of the big questions we had about school enrollment and the cost for schooling. Our shelter will prioritize education. Residents will attend their home school districts whenever possible and appropriate. So this isn't bringing kids into a City of DeKalb shelter and 21 days, 120 days, we're not going to pull them out of Sycamore or Genoa or Sandwich or whatever neighboring school they may be going to and put them into DeKalb. We will be providing transportation to their home school district. In addition to that, if they're not enrolled in school, we will be working to get them back enrolled in school, whether that's through KEC or another alternative school program, homeschooling, any other opportunities we can provide there. There is also the McKinney-Vento homeless program within the schools, within the DeKalb County school districts. So if you're not familiar with that, that is federally funded, primarily focused on homeless youth, and that helps fund schooling for homeless youth. So we'll be partnering with McKinney-Vento as well. As far as the facility itself, the reason we chose this facility in particular is we actually had toured this facility because we were working on, we're also going to be doing transitional housing for youth that are 18 to 24 years old. And we had actually originally toured this house as a potential apartment rental for those 18 to 24-year-olds. But having gone into the house and the fact that it had previously been Discovery House for Ben Gordon Center Northwestern Medicine, it had everything that we needed to meet the requirements of the shelter, the fire system, the sprinkler system, the emergency exits, all of those things that we would have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars putting into a facility were we to utilize a different facility. So that is why this facility is ideal for us. It is also very central to food, schools, bus routes, things that we will be utilizing again with the youth. We will have full security systems. There will be cameras inside and outside the home. As I mentioned, fully staffed. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again because there's a big difference between having staff around and having people that are awake all night long monitoring these kids. Because how many parents stay awake all night and watch their kids? We can't do that. It's a little ridiculous. But that's what we will be doing. In addition to that, couple other questions that I just want to answer. Parking. Residents, so youth, will not be permitted to have vehicles on site, so parking is not an issue. We will have 3 staff on site at all times, so again, the parking is adequate for our staffing. Our hope is to minimize any impact on street parking. Obviously, if I come down and doing a check-in, I'm going to be a 4th person down there, so there would be, some needs there, but again, we do have appropriate parking. As I said, we have all the security systems in place. Discovery House had all of the fire sprinkler systems, all of that. We did have to move and relocate some emergency exits and some pole stations to ensure that they weren't in a bedroom. Because if you're familiar with all those rules, there's a lot of rules and regulations on where emergency exits and pole stations can be. We are having to construct a 3-story emergency staircase exit from the 3rd floor that goes down to the 2nd floor down to the ground. That is in process of being constructed. A couple other things. There were some questions on property value taxes and neighborhood stability. And I just wanted to address those. That studies show that well-managed shelters do not negatively impact property values when operated with a strong oversight and community engagement. The shelter's mission is to foster stability and resilience, not chaos. Staff are trained in trauma-informed care and crisis intervention. Noise and disruption will be minimized through supervision, structured activities, and clear behavioral expectations. In addition to that, Family Service Agency has been around providing services since 1956. I don't think we've made the front page of the Chronicle for anything negative, and I don't intend to. So we, are really serious about this and serious about helping these youth and overcoming challenges. That's really, as I said before, we're looking at 16 beds. Does that mean we're going to have 16 kids there all the time? Absolutely not. But if we have the need to, we can. And again, 21 days is the average stay, 120 is the max stay. So, thank you for your consideration tonight.
Staff report?
Yes, very briefly, Tanisha went through everything, explained the operation. So we just did a text amendment, so it's a special use permit for a lodging house. The council did approve amendment to the Community Development Block Grant Fund to allocate $50,000 for this facility, not at a particular location, just for a facility as described. So they will have to comply with the rooming house regulations too. That's one of the conditions, and they were at a max of 16 beds, as Denisha mentioned. Parking will be provided on the site. There are 3 spaces behind the building. There's going to be a max of 3 spaces. None of the youth will be driving there. They'll be transported there, so there is adequate room. They also have to do some little striping to get that more defined. There is on-street parking allowed with permit. And as you can see, there's a lot line here. There's some parking on the neighbor to the north, and then there is an agreement with shared parking between the two. Some evidence of that I did find. But what the applicant can address it.
Okay, well, I own that property, and I've never agreed to share my parking.
Okay, well, they do have 3 parking on their site, meeting the parking requirement on their own property.
Yes.
And you do access your site through their lot, so I don't know if there's an agreement on that.
There, if you look at the deeds for the property, back in the 20s, a long ledge of property was sold to the 220 house. So the property, new property line goes right down the middle of the driveway, and we have a must-share clause for 4 feet of their property and 4 feet of my property.
Right,
So
okay.
we share a driveway.
Share a drive, okay. So they have access, you have access through their, part of their lot to get to your
Right,
parking
yes,
area.
they do through mine,
Right.
We have to share that.
So there is 3 parking spaces on the lot, so they do meet the parking requirement, I guess is the point to that. They mentioned the staff will always be 3 or a minimum of 2. They're trying to get 3 most of the time. A little history, in 1998, a special use permit was approved by the city to allow a rooming house for the Ben Gordon Center. And it was called the Ben Gordon Center Discovery House, and they were there for many years. It was sold from Ben Gordon to Northwestern in 2015. Facility closed, I understand, in March of this year, and the property was sold in May of this year to the current owner. A family service agency would be leasing this site for 3 years as initial, is that correct? For the site. And the findings of fact for the special use, we believe are met. They're provided in the staff report. Also noted too, as Tanisha mentioned, the building has a fire alarm system and is sprinkled. So, and they'll have to meet the rooming house license, which deals with capacity. So they may be licensed at 16, that's the max here, but if Ben Gordon had 13, so they may not get 16. It's all depends on the square footage and the occupants in each room. So it may be 15 or 14, but they will have to meet those requirements. Public comments, we did receive after the posting of the agenda from Scott Golden, 234 Linden Place. It's right across the street here. Noting some objection and questions regarding the property. Tanisha went through most of them. He noted concerns about safety of the facility. There's no concerns by our police department or community services coordinator regarding that. He indicated that he thought it was a group home, which has a minimum square footage, which it does. It's not a group home. It's a lodging house. A group home is a location for convicted criminals, an alternate location. So this is not a group home. They'll have to comply with the rooming house regulations regarding capacity. The building code will have to be met. There's no evidence it'll bring down property values. Mentioned property taxes, those are, city only has a little part of that. It's controlled more by the how the property is assessed, and won't create any safety or noise problems in the neighborhood. And again, I think the big key is the reputation of Family Service Agency since 1956 has been in the community, so they run a very clean, great operation, whatever they do. So we'd recommend approval. There's a sample motion provided recommending that with the conditions noted in the report. Again, the maximum capacity, comply with the regulations in Chapter 14 for rooming houses, at least 2 staff members, 24 hours a day. Also, which was a condition, the Ben Gordon Center special use number 4, that if family service agency leaves or a different lessee comes in, this becomes void, special use permit. Ben Gordon Center, that happened, they had a provision like that. So once they left, special use went away. Or if they do purchase a property, the special use is still valid if family service agency. But if there's a different use comes in there or some other agency, they have to start over.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
I did have a request form that she noted on here.
Oh, was handed regarding public comments. Nancy Doherty, this is provided, I think she handed around the room earlier. Did you
Yeah,
get
she
one
left.
too? She indicated support for this request and that the city of DeKalb assist in any way for our youth. So I do
Okay,
have a copy
thank you.
of that.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this matter? You would like to step forward, sir?
I'm Paul Meyer, College Avenue in DeKalb, just around the corner from this proposed housing. And in the last 10 minutes, I got most all my questions answered. I do have 1 or 2 remaining. Will this property go off the tax rolls? I know it probably wasn't on when Northwestern held it. Now, this is not owned by Family Service, correct?
No. No, they're leasing, so yeah, they're paying property tax. It won't go off the rolls.
Okay. And I had another question on the special use. You answered that just a moment ago. Thank you. And is there a regulation on the footage per person, square footage?
Rooming house, there's a, based on the size of the bedroom and the number of occupants, there's a calculation done to see how many could occupy a particular bedroom based on size, so.
Okay. So that's already in place. Thank you. You did a fine job telling us what all you're going to do. I appreciate that. And I know the rest of the neighborhood that's paying attention to it will also.
And with the rooming house, there's an annual inspection done by our inspectors each year on our rooming houses.
I would assume it'd be the same as a rooming house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, annual inspections.
Okay. One thing I would like to see is perhaps the density of it lowered a little bit to maybe when Ben Gordon had it. That I think
That'll be
was around
determined by
13 people.
the calculation, the square footage,
Is it?
number of occupants, yeah, that will dictate
Okay,
that.
so it's within the guidelines then?
Well,
of the-
they'll have to submit a floor plan layout and determine how many occupants there will be. So
I
no
see.
more than 16, it could be 15 or 14, but that would be determined by the floor
There
area.
was a ceiling on that, was there, 20?
16
16, okay.
per state law, yeah.
Okay, no, that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in.
In there.
Any other comments or questions? If you'd like to step forward to the mic, please. State your name.
Okay, my name is Randy Stilson. I own the property next that I share the driveway with, and I'm looking at that red outline, and that red outline is wrong because it's way too far. It's showing like the apron going out to the street from the driveway is totally on their property. It's not.
Well, the property line and aerial is not always set exactly.
Right.
So, yeah.
But my only concern is when Ben Gordon's was there, I had a couple of problems, but they were resolved very well with occasional parking in my parking spots and the biggest problem was blocking the driveway, where someone would just pull in, stop in the driveway just to run in the house for a few minutes, and they'd be there for an hour. And I couldn't leave because, and then I got kind of dirty looks when I'd knock on their door and say, I need to get out, you know? So that was one of the issues that I had. And so now, I already talked to you about that, because when I saw you out there, we walked out and discussed the parking situation and such. And now, when it comes to snow removal, I wanted to split the cost with you on having that done, and you said, no, don't worry about it, we're gonna take care of it. Well, whoever it is you had plowed one of my parking stops out into the parkway. It's sitting in the parkway now. And he knocked another one loose and whatever. But, so I need to either talk to him or something to arrange how the plowing's gonna be done. But that was one of the reasons why I wanted to pay part of the plowing, you know, 50/50 or whatever it is, so that I would have some say in how it gets plowed. But as long as I have a phone number to call, and as long as somebody is in the house, because that's my concern, since I do live alone, and, you know, it's a big house, and I still work full-time. I work for the school district. I took some time off tonight in order to come here, and, because I normally work second shift, so there's nobody in my house, you know, from 2 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And that's always been a concern of mine. I do have cameras all around my house and stuff, so I do see, you know, people wandering around on my property. But so far, I've been lucky. Nothing's ever happened. And I just hope nothing does happen, because I don't know what the situation is with these kids that'll be coming in. You know, I was, one of the questions you answered for me was they're not going to be having cars. So that was one of my concerns, that they would just, now, will they be having friends come see them or visit?
Do I answer
Get
now?
up, you can, up to the microphone, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So as far as visitors go, we do have visitor policies. There are specific times and things along those lines. There will have to be rules and regulations for any visitors. When you think about visitors, though, you're going to think more along the lines of parents and family members. So that would all be arranged ahead of time and with our staff in compliance with not only any guidelines through the rooming and lodging house, but also we have to comply with DCFS's Rule 140, I believe, licensing standards in regards to youth emergency shelters and what we can allow. And please I just want to note that I believe I gave you my cell phone number, so if there's ever an issue like that, please call me immediately.
Right here.
Perfect.
All right, that would be my concern, if they have visitors, and because a lot of people, just like was stated in the earlier statement, oh, there's shared parking. There has never been shared parking. I've basically lived in that house since 1955. And I bought it from my parents when they retired and moved to Arizona. And we have never shared parking with the house next door, because the house that I live in now, that house, used to be a rooming house for college students. But I do not have a license for rooming. I do not have anybody else live with me or anything, so I don't have that issue. But I like all the parking because I have 3 vehicles and a motorcycle, and sometimes I let my nephew park his car there, because when he goes out of state, he wants to put his car someplace else, and he'll park his car there. So I like all the parking, be able to use all the parking I have, because I have room to park like 6 vehicles along there, not to count my backyard where I have another apron to park another car. So I just like to have all that available to me, and so when I come home and I go to park and there's a car there where I normally park, it's a bit irritating.
I understand. The team
Understandable.
has heard your concerns, so,
Okay.
yeah, about the, sure.
So I know we've talked a couple times kind of about the parking, and I know you had said at one point that if we needed to use the one front spot, that it was okay that we did here and there. But I also had asked, and I hope that we can work out something where we can put some no parking signs or no FSA, no shelter parking signs to prevent that from happening in the future, so.
I'm easy to get along with. I mean, if you pull into that first parking spot and you just need to run in the house for 15, 20 minutes, I don't get bent out of shape over that. But,
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
trust you,
park-
get two, we'll work that out regarding,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
but that
perhaps we
was-
can work that out with some signage.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but that's really my only concern, is about the blocking of the driveway, and pretty much that's about it.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, my name's Dan Kenny, 303 Birchwood Lane, DeKalb. I would just like to speak in favor of this. And one of the reasons Family Service Agency has a great reputation for following through and doing things appropriately and according to regulations is because this person right here. Good organizations have good leaders, and Tanisha is a great leader. I'm a retired teacher also, and over the years, I've heard so many sad stories about youth in this category who are suddenly without a home and left on the streets or left to their own devices, and they have, I can tell you from the stories I've heard, fallen into some really bad situations. So I think this is something we've needed in our community for a long time, and I hope that you will approve this to go forward.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll close the public hearing and open it to comments and questions from the commission.
I
I
agree
think-
with Dan then, and that this is a needed thing, and I think that Tanisha will do a great job with it. I think you don't have to worry about the property values, and I think you'll get along with the neighbors, so I'm in favor of this.
I agree.
Yep.
I have one.
And I think it's just really fortunate that you found that house that already had some of the
Yeah,
necessary equipment in it.
Financially wise. One question I have, because you said that one of the neighbors had commented about marketability and safety and all that. You're not going to have any signs promoting any of this, are you?
The only sign we'll have is a Family Service Agency sign with, it'll say Roots to Rise, that's all it's gonna say. It's like our logo. It'll be, we have to get obviously permits to put up the sign, so it'll meet all the requirements of all that. But no, the intent is not to attract, no, absolutely. We want our youth to be safe as well, and we have lots of safety features in place. I'm also a mother of 5, so I know about all the tricks in the book, so.
And the other thing too, instead of signs, you can put cones.
Yes.
Temporarily.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there a curfew for the house?
Yes. So the youth will have a curfew. We are currently kind of establishing what those will be. I want to be a little strict than what other shelters are, because I don't think youth should be out, especially homeless youth, should be out roaming the streets. So yes, we are looking at our curfews. Right now, I don't want to put anything in stone, but right now I'm looking at like an 8 p.m. during the week, and a little later on the weekends. And again, it changes with age. 17-year-olds might be a little bit different. But there are a lot of rules in place as far as like once you're in the home at a certain time, you have to be there for dinner. It's not a come and go shelter. It's not a come there and sleep at night and you're gone during the day. It is a very intense program shelter. So the intent is that youth will be there more than they're not. And we are putting in a rec room because if you have things for children to do, it keeps them off the street. So we're really working on having things there to keep our youth engaged as well.
Great. Outstanding.
And just a note on the motion to, for time, you don't have to read each 4 conditions. You can just note the 4 conditions in the staff report if you wish.
So I'll look for a motion to approve.
No.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
Based on the submitted petition, testimony presented, and findings of fact, I move the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its findings of fact and recommend to the City Council approval of a special use permit for a lodging house at 220 College Avenue, subject to the conditions in the staff report.
So moved by O'Flaherty. May I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Pena Graham. May I have a roll call, please?
Ellenboss?
Yes.
O'Flaherty?
Yes.
Phoebe Graham?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
McMahon?
Yes.
Chair Maxwell?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Staff report for the next meeting?
Yeah, December 15th, one hearing, 315 North 6th Street, a private therapeutic day school, a rezoning, and a special use permit requested. So, and thanks for your time tonight, and patience, and good
Thank you.
questions for the hearings.
If nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to approve or to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
So moved by Flaherty, may I have a second? Seconded by Wright. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.